about Dan Neese in third place with 3 wins. Obviously, there's something to be said about winning all of those races. Justin Irby at the top of the list, also you see on your screen, has a win to his name so far, but the season's plenty long. And yeah, like you said, the point standings right now, they look a little spread out, but certainly some consistency, some wins, and some top threes will bring anybody in this ranking up to the front. It's to be interesting to see which of these names come to the top, as the cream will rise to the top, as it usually does in a race, especially 90 minutes long, like we have here. It'll be interesting to see which of these names we'll be talking about at the end of this race.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the schedule. They've had pretty much a lot of tracks with a lot of runoff, and then we're here at Detroit. The next week we're at the Roval, 2 very tight and technical tracks, and one mistake could really shake up this whole point standings a little bit. I mean, no, they're spread apart, but a couple mistakes and a good string of races for another driver, and these point standings are all shooken up. So it'll be interesting to see who prevails tonight and who can really make an indent on the in terms of the championship outlook.
So enough about these prototypes, these Dallara P217s, these LMP2 cars. We have some GT3 cars to talk about, and it really is all Mercedes up at the top, the entire top 4, all Mercedes. Travis Stevens, Jordan Malcolm, Scott Rankin, Sartaj Mann, all Mercedes, and they're all just controlling this series from the looks of things. We have a couple of Audis we're getting a little bit close right now, though. Josh Patterson is the closest at 71 back, although Warren Keith has a win this season. That's extremely important, that one of these Audis does have a win. These Audis can break through, but it seems like so far the Mercedes definitely tend to be the car of choice. We actually see that be the complete opposite on Monday nights with the Northwest GT3 Challenge, so it's very interesting to see that polar opposite here, where I guess on these American circuits it tends to favor the Mercedes.
Well, yeah, and you talk about whether or not Audi can break through. Obviously, you see on your screen that Audi can break through, and it's interesting the way that it goes back and forth between a Mercedes and an Audi, especially when you talk about the Northwest GT3 series. But in terms of what we're expecting, it would be really cool to see them duking it out amongst each other. Obviously, like you said, Detroit's a very technical course, not really as big about the straight line speed or the fast cornering abilities of one car versus the other. It's very much a driver's track, so hopefully, Emerson, this sort of racing circuit would enable a good, maybe Mercedes versus Audi, single car versus single car race to the finish.
Oh yeah, and I mean, as far as PitStop TV goes, we've had some GT3 racing on the channel the past few weeks with the Northwest GT3 Challenge, and that has been a blast to see that, I guess, inter-manufacturer matchup. And of course, there's more GT3 cars with that, and we're only limited to the Mercedes and the Audis here. And like you said, tight and technical, it's gonna be a blast. And these GT3 cars, they're I mean, as far as like the GTE cars, which are not running today, or the GT2 cars as this series has them listed, but they're not running today. These GT3 cars should have an easier time working their way around this circuit.
And currently these guys all vying for the USRA Pole Award. Currently, Alex Witt would take those honors in the LMP2 category. If you go back to a GT3, though, it currently goes to Jordan Malcolm. Now, it's interesting to me to think of this as a more American series and not call these GT3 cars GTD cars, but this isn't IMSA, although it is darn close, and I'm very interested to see how this race goes. I've not been around for this league as far as the rest of the season, obviously. That's been covered by Flat Out Racing Network, I do believe, a lot of the prior races, so you can check those races out on their channel. Hopefully you do so after our broadcast, but hey, you do you. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this evening goes and the rest of these races, and we get to come back for these guys at Road Atlanta to finish out the season as well. So we're really we're at races 5 and 10 currently. We might add another one in there, we'll see. So we're right at each end of each half, I suppose. So I guess we're each 2-minute warning for these guys.
Yeah, and you're certainly right, and I agree. I want to see some good racing out of these guys tonight, and we're really happy to be here. We're really happy to come back in the future with them, and hopefully, yeah, we do get to join them more throughout the season. But yeah, like I said in the introduction to our broadcast tonight, the big thing, at least that I'll be watching for, is the way that the penalties play out, because in the drivers' meeting, it was stated very clearly, very evidently, you have to be respectful of the lap traffic. For the P2 cars, they have to be able to stick their nose under the GT3 cars cleanly, but they have to be patient and wait for the right times to do it. I think that's something that at the beginning maybe the first time they come up on the lap traffic, we might see some early aggression that could lead to some issues. And then obviously, come the end of the race, everything's going to break loose, and hopefully these guys keep their heads on their shoulders and keep everything straight, that we don't see any issues like that. But I will be watching throughout the course of the night to make sure that everybody does as they were specifically told to do throughout the course of this entire length race, which is obviously another factor to talk about, is how long it is.
I agree. Aggression is going to be a huge talking point today. With these 90-degree corners, it's going to be almost appetizing to some of these prototypes as they approach on GT traffic to just send it in there, knowing that if they can get the preferred line, that the GT car is easily going to have to give up the corner. And we'll see if any contact is as a result of that, because the GT car would most likely be pinching the prototype down or just giving way to the corner completely. And if there's a jumble of cars, it's going to be interesting for sure.
Riding on board with Justin Erb there for a second. He's currently second in prototype qualifying. These guys have 6 minutes to go here, gentlemen. And qualifying going to be very, very important this evening, although mostly, I think, for those GT cars, because they have to be at the front of the pack. Otherwise, they are going to have a hell of a time, especially once the prototype traffic catches them. These prototype guys, there's only 5 of them currently. We might get some more before this qualifying session's over. But for the most part, they'll have things sorted out. There's only 5 of them. It's going to be these GT cars we have to watch out. The GT battles as far as where the action's going to be, and really seeing who, I guess, gets the better end of things during qualifying, whose qualifying run really pays off for them. Right now, that would be Jordan Malcolm, currently on pole in the 3.35 with a 1:28.312. He just ran it as well.
Yeah, and as you saw him there get a little bit into turn one a little bit off and hit that apex a little too soon there. But you talk about on track, the traffic and the battling that they could see trying to qualify, and that's something you don't want. As much as a spectator, you may want to see some cars going beating, banging down straightaways, racing each other into corners. That's not what the drivers need. They need clean laps. They need open circuit in front of them. And that's what's going to pay off for these guys as they go through their qualifying sessions, is trying to get out on track when there aren't other cars around, so that they can have the clean lines. They don't have to worry about anything. They don't have to watch their mirrors for traffic coming up behind them, stuff like that. And that's part of the strategy of qualifying, outside of the obvious, setting up your car to run fast, is also the strategy of going out at the right time. Make sure you don't have any traffic or anything around you that's going to hinder your performance in qualifying. 90-minute race, qualifying isn't quite as important if you count out the fact that we're at Belle Isle, which is, like we said, a very tight and technical course. Not a lot of great chances to pass. There are a couple really good chances to pass, but in terms of aggression, there are a lot of parts of the circuit where you kind of have to wait.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the start is going to be the best opportunity to see who has the most patience. We were told just before this broadcast that we average a full course yellow per race at least, and hoping that we can end that trend today. But it's not looking good in terms of the trend at a very tight race course. We'll see if we can maybe end that full course yellow trend today.
Currently watching these guys continue to qualify. 3.5 minutes to go. Alex Witt still holds on to the pole position in the prototype category. He and Justin Erb have, I don't know if it's Erb or Irby, I'm not really sure. We'll figure that out at some point this evening, but I'll go with Irby, actually. It kind of looks better, sounds better. Irby sits second, and he's a little under 7/10, I guess is a better way to put it. A little under 7/10 back. Eric Blumenkantz is actually quite a ways back, 2.2 seconds. So again, these 5 prototypes, they're separated by just a bit. They are rather separated this evening, at least from second to third. I think the rest of the field, I think they'll kind of split into their own couple little battles here. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what these GT cars can do, these GT3 Audis and Mercedes. Mercedes has dominated so far in this series, as we saw in the GT points, but the Audis can win, and this is a track where being more nimble, being these Audis, just might work out for them, because we've seen in the Northwest GT3 Challenge that these guys can absolutely get these Audis to turn pretty darn good, if not too good, almost to where they might be a little bit free this evening. So that may actually really, really help. And, well, I say that, and Warren Keith pounds the wall right in front of us. But no, I look forward to seeing what these Audis can do at a street course.
Yeah, absolutely. And the nimble nature of an Audi certainly is something to be accounted for. When you put the engine in the rear like the Audis are versus the front, where the Mercedes have theirs, that's going to be helpful in the corners, and it should be a factor in the handling of the cars. Obviously, we saw the point standings before we started getting into this practice session here, is mainly the Mercedes at the top of the screen, but Audis are nimble. Audis are small. Audis have rear engines. They are, in terms of technical specifications, they have what you would expect to be an advantage for being quick, being able to get through certain parts of this track, like you see on your screen here, where it gets tight, where it gets slow, and you have to speed up again. Stuff like that is going to be what you'd expect the Audi to be better at. So maybe that'll play into tonight's race. We know, as I said, the Mercedes seem to be dominating the points championship, but it's an ebb and flow in racing, and that kind of thing can come into play when we start switching up the racing schedule like we're doing here at Belle Isle.
Yeah, another advantage I see to the engine positioning between the Audi and the Mercedes is, like we said, this is a street course that's very bumpy, and our rear engine could really stabilize that rear end and, reduce the effects of the bumps to a certain point, especially as we go into a run and we drain out the fuel tanks a little bit throughout stints. And you might notice, if you're in a Mercedes, that the back end's going to get really light because of the engine being in the front and the fuel tank emptying. These Mercedes could be a handful over some of these bumps.
We'll just have to see how it all works out. 15 seconds and counting here to the end of our qualifying session. Again, these guys vying for the USRA Pole Award. It's going to likely go to Alex Witt and Jordan Malcolm at this point. Looks like everybody else a little ways back of each of those drivers. In fact, they each have 6/10 back to their counterparts. So while these guys get 2 minutes to finish up their laps, I don't think those pole positions are going to change. But hey, it's never over until the fat lady sings. Don't want to call it too early because anybody could go out there and lay down a flyer and suddenly take that pole position away. We've seen it happen before. A minute and a half to go for some of these guys who've already started their laps. We'll see if anybody can unseat those current pole sitters. No prototypes on the racetrack means it's not going to happen in the prototype category. So Alex Witt is your pole sitter for the LMP2s. We only have 2 GT3s on the racetrack, and one of those right here, the beat-up 47 of Warren Keith. The other, well, just escaped. So this is it. If Warren Keith can go faster, well, he just might be able to get that pole award, but with as beat-up as that car looks, I wouldn't be surprised if this lap is already invalidated. We'll see where Warren goes. And he stays in third. Of course, if you get a 1X, even a 0X here on iRacing, if you make the slightest bit of contact with the outside retaining walls, with grass, anything like that, your lap is invalidated in qualifying. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Granted, the qualifying session is wrapping up. You've got to be really, really careful when you go out there and try to get that pole award.
Yeah, and certainly with a track like Belle Isle, this is something that you really have to watch out for. Obviously, anybody who races iRacing knows that this applies anywhere and everywhere, but certain tracks it's a little easier to have a little runoff. Certain tracks have some runoff. I know specifically, as an example, a race I did earlier today at Watkins Glen, the first corner, completely runoff. You can just go off. Detroit doesn't have that option. You can't go off. You can't go wide. You can't hit the wall because it will invalidate your lap time. That's a part of the game that you just have to live with. You just have to be better than when you want to put down a good time. Obviously, Alex Witt, Jordan Malcolm, 2 drivers who were able to do that here tonight and put themselves on pole, but it's a big factor when you play iRacing.
Yeah, I mean, iRacing's slowdown and penalty or incident point system are huge factors in qualify and in the race as well. And it's really hard because you think, you'll watch a race on TV and you'll see the drivers abuse the track limits a little bit more than what you're allowed on the sim. And I mean, obviously Detroit, there really isn't any opportunity for that. If you abuse the track limits, you're abusing your car. but I see the field is gridding up. So I guess I'll keep moving it on to Andrew here as the prototypes have gridded.
Yes, we'll walk you down your Whiplash Media starting grid. Alex Witt, as we mentioned, taking that pole award. Justin Irby, I'm going to go with Irby, I think sounds right, in second place. And the number 23, back to row 2 of our prototypes, and you see Eric Blumenkrantz in the number 99, Kevin Hurley in 4th. 5th place, the final prototype in the event, Noah Carmichael, will start 5th place overall. Jordan Malcolm, the GT3 pole sitter, will start 6th overall. He will be on the left lane, it looks like, the outside into turn 1, but I'd imagine that these GT3 cars will give some space to the prototypes up ahead. You see Corey Hartz, Warren Keith. Roll back to row 5, Shane Loveridge, Alexander Muscarella. That's your top 10 this evening. It's 5 prototypes, 5 GT3 cars. You have some extra GT3s back here, rather. Spencer Hardison, Travis Stevens. We're going to wrap up the field here. Matt Dyer, Caleb Smith. And that is your 14-car grid. A bit of a smaller grid here this evening, Joe, but still going to be a good one.
Well, absolutely. And I think even for the smaller amount of cars you may see on track, I think the racing up front is definitely going to keep us entertained tonight. 5 prototypes, so they should be able to, hopefully they should be able to keep it clean and keep it together. That we'll get some nice racing throughout the course of the event. And then obviously with the rest of the GT3 field, I think that's just as much a factor. Obviously, the lap traffic is going to be an important part of it, but throughout the course of 90 minutes, a lot of things can happen, and we'll be watching, especially when we get to sunset, when the dynamics of the track start to change, because we're getting into the evening time. I think that's another thing we haven't quite talked about yet, is how the track's going to change throughout the course of this run. Those types of things that we get to watch here for these 90 minutes and see how they affect the drivers on track.
Well, as the iRacing.com, is that a Chevrolet Silverado pace truck pulls off into the safety of pit lane. It'll be the 94 of Alex Witt leading the field through turn 14, and they will take the green flag as we get to racing here at Detroit Belle Isle.
Through turns 1 and 2, the prototype's very clean. The GT3 cars didn't leave much room. It was a very short parade lap up to the start of this one. You see Jordan Malcolm already takes the race lead in the GT3 category. Bit of a bob on at turn 2 as well. We, of course, saw a Corvette wadded up there as the pace car. It's pretty easy to do so. They challenge off into turn 3. That was Corey Hartz trying to give him a challenge into the braking zone. The proximity racing driver now looks to the right side into turn 4. He thinks better of it, keeps his nose behind him, but these guys already racing pretty hard, and it's only lap 1. We've got 90 minutes on the clock, boys.
Yeah, we've got plenty of time left in this race, so for Corey Hartz to be going so hard, I mean, obviously you want to build up a gap early on in the race, and it's just, well, we've got to take a second to look at the sunset. Look at how much glare these drivers, so long as they have their settings fitted to it, obviously, but look at how much glare these drivers are going to have to deal with, and that's not going to go away until the sun goes down, so that's just going to continue being a problem. But in terms of Corey Hartz, he is not holding up. He wants to get into the lead now so he can start building up.
Whoa, we've got a spun prototype. It's Eric Blumenkrantz. You're in the, I don't even know what to call this section, but it's in turn 8 thereabouts. Oh, we see an incident up ahead. There's a 21. That 21 is, oh man, that was Kevin Hurley. And Blumenkrantz was trying to get turned around. Hurley was trying to get turned around. These guys all just stacked up. Kevin Hurley since has gone all the way back to the rear end of this field.
Yeah, that's a tough break. That's really not what you need to be doing when you're in a prototype, because now you got to fight through all that traffic just to get back up in front of all of them so you can start catching up to your own field again. But, you know, it's a long race, so there's plenty of time to turn it around. But, yeah, definitely not the way to start your event.
Yeah, definitely. They might have to use a little bit of strategy to get back into the mix for their class. And I believe everybody has, finished the first laps. I believe that it goes against what we were told before this broadcast started, and we did not have a full course yellow on lap number 1. Now, it's still an option should the field really stack them up that much that they need one. But for now, Alex Witt looks like he has a 2.5 margin over Justin Irby. We'll say, and Noah Carmichael up to 3rd after the prototype clash in turn 8.
So everybody through turn 1 for the most part. It looks like Spencer Hardinson not going to make our race field. Kevin Hurley's got a little ways to go. In fact, he's coming up on these on these GT cars rather for the first time. So this will be our first little taste of prototype on GT action here at PitStop TV, and it's going to be difficult for these guys to navigate. Though I did see them in practice utilizing some patience, so I hope they do the exact same here through the actual race. And we've still got a long ways to go as well. So even more patience now than I think you're going to see the rest of the event. Oh wow, Hurley very loose in the bumps there in acceleration. That that GT car was Dyer. Matt Dyer got right out of his way and lets this prototype go on by. Now Kevin Hurley going to use his straight line speed, go right on by Caleb Smith. He's got Travis Stevens ahead into turn 1. He makes it work out, but ooh, that was a bit aggressive.
Yeah, Hurley is on it, and you said you thought it would be more patient passing here, but I had thought this might be where you see the real aggression, because obviously Hurley's going to be very frustrated with the way his race has started here. He knows he's got a long race to go, so hopefully he knows he's got time to make it up and get back to the front. But in terms of immediate feelings and emotions, Kevin's not going to be very happy right now, so I wouldn't expect him to be throwing caution to the wind per se, but obviously you got to be smart. And you can see that the GT field's doing the same thing. They know the rules, they know how tight the track is, and they don't want to be hindering him because they know he's got a tough uphill battle to go here. So they're going to try to be respectful of him as well. But yeah, he's made it through the field pretty cleanly. So I think if this is a predecessor of what we're expecting out of lap traffic this evening, I think we've got a lucky break. We might not be seeing too much lap traffic getting in the way and making major differences in this race throughout the course of the event.
Yeah, it looks like Kevin only has 3 more GT cars to work through, and there's something just so satisfying when you watch a prototype slice and dice through some GT traffic. I think it is absolutely beautiful. And I mean, we're only on the third, Kevin's on the 3rd lap of this race, and we still have 85 minutes to go. And I mean, like Joe said, I can understand the aggression, you know, after being involved in an incident in lap 1. He wants to get back to his class and really have something to say there and not just take a P5 in class. As here he comes, he approaches Warren Keefe. He's just going to fly right by with that straightaway speed. On board now with the 5 of Caleb Smith as he looks to get on to Shane Loveridge down Central Avenue.
And this was a pretty interesting battle about a half a lap ago. They've since spread out just a little bit. Shane Loveridge has actually gapped Travis Stevens. Travis Stevens has now actually gone by, it looks like, Caleb Smith. So Caleb Smith going to have to worry about Matt Dyer before too long. These guys all just mixing it up, and it's all Mercedes back here, if you notice that as well. Seems like this is certainly an Audi racetrack. You don't have too many long straightaways, which makes sense. Really, this is the longest straightaway you have, and it's hardly even a straightaway. You have a big turn down the center of it, and then you turn back to the left a little bit before you turn in to the right. So it's kind of weaving, snaking, if you will. It's a snake stretch, I suppose.
Yeah, and it does bring you into a tight section of this course that we're in right now, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 being the turns that we're going through right here. We're on our way up to turn 9 right here. But Strand Drive gives you some passing opportunities, and I think that has, oh boy, we got a pass going on screen right now, 24. Down the inside, Caleb Smith was looking, didn't quite make it work. Out of the turn, maybe going to look down the inside again here through 12, not going to make it. So this is very much a one-line set of turns, 12 and 13, that is. So obviously he's going to lose that momentum and try to hold on here as we continue. But yeah, you say Strand Drive, not really a straight track, but it's fast, long, and it gives them a really nice opportunity to pass into turn 7.
On the other hand, how about the second longest straightaway on the course? And this is a straightaway, Central Avenue. And this 3-car battle for 6th position in class is really heating up with Travis Stevens playing great defense. Down a straightaway, Caleb Smith didn't really have the run, even though he had all the slipstream in this entire straight to really muster up a run. Just couldn't get there. And they just kind of have to ride it out at this point. You know, we're only 7 minutes into the race and still pit stops to go. So I would say after a couple tries here, a couple more tries from Caleb Smith, he'll probably just kind of settle in behind Travis, and we'll see if he can maybe get some undercuts or overcuts working on the 24.
While we watch this mid-pack GT fighting, up ahead in the GT category, they separated themselves quite a bit. We have 2 Audis and a Mercedes sitting on podium, not quite in that order. Jordan Malcolm leads, he's in an Audi. Corey Hart, second place, he is in a Mercedes. Warren Keith, third, he's in an Audi. So mixing things up there for sure. Loveridge in 5th place, he's in an Audi. You see him there on the bottom of your screen as he's ahead of Travis Stevens and company. Muscarella, I believe, is a Mercedes. So really, these guys well represented all throughout. Of course, up in the prototype category, we only have the Dallara to root for. And actually, we do have a battle on the racetrack. Noah Carmichael has company as he's going to get past down Strand Drive.
Yeah, Carmichael just got past for third there. Blumenkrantz got down the inside, and Blumenkrantz had been caught up earlier on in that first lap quarrel incident with Kevin Hurley and everything going on there. So just now catching up to Noah Carmichael, who we caught word from Noah. I'm not going to exactly say what he said, but he's not incredibly enthused right now in terms of the track. It's a tough track to get around, and he has adamantly said such. It's just a tough track for the drivers. It's very bumpy, very demanding, and especially in a prototype car where everything is sort of accentuated by just the way that a prototype car is. Speed, aerodynamics, handling, car control, car response time, stuff that is very quick compared to, say, a GT car. It's very much a handful for these drivers right now, and especially as they start to fatigue over the course of the run.
Let's make no mistake about it. This is still the first season on iRacing with this car on the service. So these drivers are still relatively new to the car. And Carmichael, I think he only got about 20 minutes worth or less, maybe 15 minutes worth of practice compared to everybody else's 75 or so minutes. And while the inner class or the middle battle in the GTE class is really ramping up, this is one of the prototypes working through traffic. Is that Blumenkrantz working through? I believe that was Hardison. Watch him as he works his way through 7, 8, and 9.
We're talking about how this place is pretty tight, and Joe, I think he said something about it being one lane in some corners. It's one lane throughout. It is one of those racetracks where you've got to be on the racing line or you're in trouble. Oh, here's some trouble. Alex Witt passing these guys, actually. This is our race leader prototype, moving through some GT3 traffic for the first time all evening long, and that's how quick it happens. Within 10 minutes, the leader has caught GT3 traffic and is fully enthralled in some of it as well. These 3 Mercs still fighting through the intersections of this first half of the lap. They'll exit onto Strand Drive here momentarily. Almost a bumping and banging, though. Almost a boot there in the back.
Yeah, it looked like Caleb might have caught up there and gave a little love tap to Dyer in front of him. But yeah, you said 10 minutes in and we're already getting lap traffic. That's kind of, we're going to see how that plays out over the night. And like we've already said, oh, look at this. Caleb Smith got offline. Really, really rough corner there. That was turn 7, so let's make sure he's okay and sticks in behind. But yeah, you talk about only 10 minutes in, we're catching up the lap traffic. I think that's going to show how many opportunities we're going to see the lap traffic being a part of the equation when the prototypes come through. So hopefully as the race runs out, nothing major happens with that. And hopefully everybody respects those rules that have been set in place about being respectful of each other on circuit. But it just shows you how many opportunities there are for something to go haywire.
And the opportunities for sure. And I mean, we can talk about this interclass racing. How you get through this GT traffic can make or break your race. Justin Irby, as Alex Witt made his way through this traffic, he only was down 5 seconds as he clears 6th place in the GT3 class. He is now 8.5, almost 9 seconds actually behind Alex Witt. So he lost almost 4 seconds in that little trio of cars as Alex Witt has made his way through. Oh! There's somebody's around here. This is Matt Dyer, 7th in class, or he was. Gets it going there. I believe that was down in turn 3. Here's a replay.
Just misses the braking zone. Very glad that he was able to escape running through the back end of Travis Stevens there. But he just completely missed his brake marker, drove deep into the corner, and I mean, he at least knew that there was some runoff there. Well, I wouldn't call it runoff, but just access area where he could go as a last-ditch effort not to hit somebody, and I'm glad that he did. We do not want to have a wind up there in turn 3. We've seen that before, actually, here on the channel. If you go back to the IRL IndyCar race, Well, that's exactly what happened. We had a first lap yellow in turn 3. We've seen a few of those in Indy cars. We saw them. We saw one actually at Watkins Glen with the SRCA IndyCar World Challenge, or World Series rather. That was something when we had those guys wadded up just out of turn 1 at Watkins Glen. We've seen it here in turn 3 with Indy cars. I thought we might have seen that run right there. Honestly, just one car getting turned around in turn 3 can easily turn into a big accident. I do want to mention, though, here, Joe, there's a lot of different ways that iRacing leagues come to choosing their racetrack. I bet you'll never guess how these guys chose Detroit.
That would be outside of my realm. All I could think of would be that just the track itself is so different and challenging for drivers. But obviously, I think that means you might know the answer, and you're willing to share with us what the reasoning is.
Well, I'll give Emerson a shot here. Emerson, how do you think we came to Detroit? Because it was not on the schedule initially, so I'll give you another fair shot there, Joe, as well. How do you guys think we came to Detroit?
Oh boy, this is a tough one. This is it's gonna be something it's got to be something wacky. I don't know, Emerson. Can you think of the craziest thing? Why this track would be on the schedule? Something just out of the blue.
I can't think of anything wacky. Yeah, I can just all I would say is probably a driver's vote, but I doubt that.
Well, actually, it does partially involve that. First, we'll check in on Noah Carmichael. He's now last place in the prototype category. In fact, he's been passed by some GT cars. He's pitting in, and he's got a lot of rear-end damage, Joe. Let's take a look back at what happens here to Noah Carmichael. And, it must have happened much earlier in this lap than I thought. But, oh, man, his left rear, his whole left side's destroyed. I wonder if it happened early in the lap yet. Oh, it did! Oh, dear. No, and right in front of Hurley there as he was trying to pass a GT car. What has happened to Noah Carmichael? We'll ride on board with him here. Heartbreak here for Noah. He's signed up normally to run in the GT2 category, which is GTE or GT Le Mans cars, whichever one you want to call them. He just taps the curb and then gets a little bit loose on exit rather. Oh man. That is truly rough here for Noah because, as I was mentioning, he's usually signed up to run a BMW in the GT2 category here in the USRA. So for him to be in a prototype is a bit different, and that's what Joe was touching on a little while ago. It's just a bit different for him. He's trying to get used to a different car, just like everybody else here on the sim. Though with this new prototype, it's a lot of fun, but it can certainly bite you pretty quickly. Here's the leader, Alex Witt, as he carries on. I'll get back to our story though of how we came to Detroit because it's a little bit unorthodox. It did involve a track vote. However, I approached Warren Keith, league owner here in the USRA, a couple of weeks back. I forget how long ago it was. I think it was on my, might have been on my trip actually to Las Vegas with the Legends Car Nationals, Asphalt Nationals. I believe it was out to there, and I really just said, hey, let's try and get one more event, at least one more than just the series finale here on PitStop TV, and at first, we were trying to look at maybe a Roval. We tossed around Homestead, interestingly enough. We tossed around the Homestead Road Course. We tossed around Indianapolis, places like VIR, etc., some other racetracks out there. And then, the idea of, well, there's no street course on the schedule yet. What about a street course? Okay, started thinking about it. Long Beach, it's not quite finished yet, but Detroit is. We even tossed around, I think, New Jersey at one point in that conversation. But then, how do you come to that decision, right, of actually running that racetrack? Well, I mentioned that we could have a track vote, but disguise each track option. Oh, wow, as our GT leader, Jordan Malcolm, pops the fence there between 8 and 9. I mentioned that we could have a track vote, but disguise each option. Since this is on Halloween, as a Halloween candy choice, and basically just pick your favorite Halloween candy. And I believe, and this might be an unfair advantage to Detroit. I believe Detroit was made Reese's, and I believe the runner-up in this vote, I forget what track it was now, was made Snickers. Jordan Malcolm having connection issues here. We'll see if he gets back onto the racetrack, and it looks like he has, which is good for him. He wants to retain that lead. But yeah, so really this was a candy vote for a racetrack, not even a track vote.
So what it was for these drivers was it was a trick for them and a treat for us.
Exactly.
But they're stuck racing it. Okay. Interesting scenario. I like the idea. It's very creative. Yeah, and I like it because certainly if you give the drivers the options, I know some of these guys definitely wouldn't have put Detroit at the top of the list. I love to hear that it was Reese's though, if it was the top pick, because obviously, your boys representing Hershey, Pennsylvania. So to hear that a Hershey's product is the most popular candy by choice is what we like to hear. So that's a really cool, interesting, and unique way to set up a race for this series.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that. I love the creativity that can come out of some of these league owners here on iRacing, and a brilliant idea from Warren Keefe
Oh, no.
you.
I won't let you give the credit to Warren here. That was all me. That was all my idea. I will not. I will take that one to the grave. I will not. I guess that's topical for Halloween. I will not let Warren take credit for that one. But it worked out pretty well. I think it was a pretty cool idea in general, and that's not even just trying to pat myself on the back. Had anybody come up with that, it's a pretty cool thing for Halloween in general, Emerson.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, trick or treat, like Joe mentioned, for sure. I mean, Detroit it's one of my favorite tracks on the service, and I've never been able to do a broadcast at Detroit. I've never done a league race at Detroit, and I've just been treated to such a wonderful event. I love sports car racing on iRacing in Detroit. The bumps, the characteristics of these cars versus a bumpy track. It's such a great combination. Now, I'm not entirely sure if I agree with the Reese's, considering Reese's are generally.
Oh, it's Reese's, not Reese's.
Reese's, my apologies. It's a circle candy, and this is the furthest thing from an oval. I figured a roval may be represented by Reese's, and maybe Snickers with all the ridges on top could represent the technicality of the circuit.
Well, in that case, it'd be a bag of Ruffles. But yes. I like where you're going, though, with the roval representing Reese's. Maybe next year. That's adding an extra level of creativity. I suppose that would be making it a white chocolate Reese's, if that exists. I'm sure it does.
Yes, I would. No, yes, I am your Hershey's candy expert.
Our resident chocolate expert here at PitStop TV, huh?
Resident engineer, resident chocolate specialist. What more could you need out of a broadcaster? I don't know. Yeah, that's an interesting setup though, and I liked Emerson's logic to put some meaning behind the candy. Maybe if they do that again in the future, try to bring some of the dynamics of the racetrack into the candy. Like you said, the top of a Snickers, you look at the very top, a little ruffled up and not quite smooth, and there's some character to it, and I think that would really do a good job of representing the surface that they're racing on right now here at Belle Isle, because you can see these cars bouncing around through the corners, down the straightaways, how bumpy the track really is, and then the character that comes from that when you talk about the racing that they're doing out on track, that was really big brain, and I like that a lot.
I mean, the sky's the limit. I just who else, where can you go wrong with having a good heartfelt candy conversation on Halloween, where most children will be coming around and getting free candy through our neighborhoods and all. Just the spirit in the air of candy. I think that's a perfect way to fill some air on broadcast.
Well, shoot, we got an hour and a half to go. Well, an hour and a half to fill, I suppose. But, hopefully if you are out there trick-or-treating this evening, do it safely. We'll just leave it at that. Obviously, 2020, a very interesting time. Oh, wow! Was that Caleb Smith? That was Caleb Smith that we're on board with here. Just completely annihilates that turn 7 curbing. But, in these longer races, I mean, this is technically, I'd say this is an endurance race, especially for one driver, as Muscarelli gets very sideways there out of 10 or 11. I think that's 11, one of the two. I'll check my handy-dandy track map. Yes, that was turn 11. I'll figure it out one of these days. But, we got to fill for quite a while, right? So we get these nice little conversations. This is when we get to kind of relax. I mean, this is one of those broadcasts where we can kind of kick back and really, I think, just, I don't want to say let it all hang out. That sounds kind of weird, but you get the point.
Yeah, we're all just here. We're chilling, having a good time, talking about having a couple things going on, just watching Alex Witt, your race leader, start to maneuver lap traffic again. We're on board with him. It's a long race, so we've got time to calm down a little bit, relax, enjoy each other's company, enjoy the show we're getting. The drivers, on the other hand, not quite the same scenario. They have to keep it on 100% the entire race. Very demanding track. We saw it like we saw earlier with Caleb Smith just getting in apex too soon. He ran out of room in that corner and he jumped the rumble strip, and obviously he was able to save it and keep it out of the wall, keep it fairly minor in terms of hurting his lap and hurting his run. But like Andrew said, we get to kind of bring it down a little bit, just kind of be cool for a little while. Not the same scenario in the cockpits though.
I guess then, if we're just to continue on the candy conversation a little bit longer, I guess then would be appropriate to ask, what is your favorite candy? I just got handed an Almond Joy. I'm not particularly fond of those, but I'll eat them. But I'm mostly a fan of, and I was arguing hard for Snickers for this track because I'm a huge fan of Snickers. Just there's so much character to a Snickers bar, the fun size or the minis or the regular sized bars or the pound bars. They're all just, I don't know. It's definitely an experience when you enjoy a Snickers bar.
See, if I had to pick a favorite candy bar, I don't know. There would be a good reason to pick Zero Bar candy bar just because of our Sunday night obligations, but I've actually never had a Zero Bar candy bar. We do have a battle on racetrack here. This is 4th, 5th, and 6th in the GT category. You see second place Justin Irby in the prototype category joining up on these guys. It'll be a whole conga line down, Strand Drive, I believe it is, down this back stretch, and we'll see how this all works out. In fact, we'll go, here comes Justin Irby. I was going to say we'll go on board, but he's already here. But no, I'm not really sure. I'm definitely unorthodox. Is actually, here comes Irby. He wants to get by contact. Maybe the trees are hiding it. And wow, we're still racing. But I believe Irby just punted Muscarella off into 7. Muscarella into the turn 8 wall. We'll get a replay once these guys settle down here for a second. And then we'll rejoin our candy conversation. Wow. These guys are, I don't know. 14 cars here at Detroit, and they're still finding ways to really make things exciting, which I appreciate here. Irby, he was going around the outside. I don't think he expected Muscarella to come back over. And he just gives a little light boop to the back end there of that Mercedes. That could have been a whole lot worse.
Yeah, that definitely could have been a whole lot worse. You saw Irby was just trying to get through the lap traffic, and Loveridge went down the inside. He went down to the inside line to let him by, just to give him the room. And Muscarella didn't quite do the same thing. You can't blame him. He's trying to make his run. He's trying to stay in front of the Audi that he now has been passed by, but he's going to come back down on the inside again. This is a good race still for 4th, 5th, and 6th position. You see Muscarella holding on for the moment, but you can't really blame him, although Irby definitely came in hot trying to get that pass done. And look out behind him. The Audi got big time loose there out of the corner. That was out of turn 5 that he was getting sideways there. So Caleb Smith made that pass up into 5th place around Shane Loveridge there because of that whole squirrely situation. But it's just part of the race, and hopefully Irby can recover.
What happened there is exactly what I thought would happen to a Mercedes. I didn't expect that to happen to an Audi there. Just because the Audis are rear-engine vehicles, he just got loose on the bumps, and the Mercedes kept it tight. Of course, he was on the inside line. Whoa, big moment for Muscarella there as well. But Shane Loveridge, I mean, what a catch. An amazing job to keep that car off of Caleb Smith and off the outside and inside wall. And they continue to battle for 4th in class.
Here comes Loveridge down to the pit lane. Shane is going to come to the safety of his crew. We were told these guys would have about 2 pit stops in this race, these GT cars, so this, I believe, is an undercut. Of course, if you have 90 minutes, you'd come in at 30 and 60, so I believe this is an undercut here coming in at minute 27 thereabouts, and Shane Loveridge going to come down, get, I'd imagine, we might see them take tires this evening. Maybe not this pit stop, but I'd say the second one we might see them actually take tires. Definitely just a fuel stop here, though, for Loveridge. He's going to come in and continue on his grind to try and get back up to this battle we see here for 4th and 5th. Caleb Smith trying to hunt down Alexander Muscarella. Caleb Smith has looked very wonky which fits in right with Willy Wonka, I suppose, for Halloween, but really wonky this evening, a bit cattywampus, as Joe might say. But suddenly finding some speed in that Patronus number 5 and is starting to hunt down Muscarella just a little bit. These two Mercedes could be going at it momentarily. And man, Muscarella just scrapes the wall a bit more. You can do that though in these tank Mercedes. You can just scrape the wall a tiny bit and keep on going like it never even happened. Though it will hurt your aero down the line, and aero's not that big of a deal here. But you still see there's some time to stretch these legs of these Mercedes, and it's going to impact you if you start taking on damage.
Yeah, but like you said, I like that you call them the tank Mercedes because they are pretty durable cars. Things that have happened in the past. Especially, I remember specifically when the new models of the Lamborghini Huracans came out, and when the Audi R8 GT3s, like the one you're looking at right now, Warren Keith here on pit lane getting his service. When they first came out, I remember their aluminum suspensions were very unreliable, and as opposed to when the GT3 Mercedes came over to IMSA and when they were introduced over in Europe for GT3 racing there. Never really had problems with that sort of situation with durability of the actual car itself. So something that plays into the favor of the Mercedes. But I also wanted to talk about Caleb Smith having a better car, apparently, on the long run. You know, usually you'd expect the car to be running at an optimal state earlier in the run when the tires are warmed up, but they're still fresh, when everything's sort of reset and you're getting yourself back into your rhythm at the beginning. You know, it's harder to make a mistake over the short term than the long term, and so it's interesting that Caleb Smith's car seems to be coming to him right now, but maybe he set it up to do that because he knows a long race has long stints, and long stints are where you're going to make your time up.
Oh, for sure. You've seen Caleb Smith. We were watching earlier in the race. He was battling for 6th. He was down at 8th at one point in class, and now he's battling for 4th as he goes to the inside of Muscarella. Muscarella holds tight on the outside there as they work their way down Sunset. Is that Sunset Drive?
I think I see why they call it Sunset Drive.
Oh yeah, you can really see the sun reflecting off the walls and the paint, and again, it's just going to become a bigger issue on certain parts of the track, especially down Strand Drive. That's where you're probably going to see the most sunlight through the front windshields. As we still have an hour left and the sun is pretty much in the middle of the sky, and I believe we are going to go 15 minutes past sunset by the time this race concludes.
We come right up to the 30 minutes elapsed mark here in 8 more seconds, so just an hour to go. They started with an hour and a half, and actually they have a prototype breathing down there next now. Is that Justin Irby? I believe no. That is a prototype of some sort, though. Might be Noah Carmichael, actually. And it's not. Anyways, we'll go back up to those guys. Anyways, there's a prototype passing them. That's what I'm trying to get to. Is actually, that was Blumenkrantz possibly, and Hurley is joining in on this battle as well. Hurley's not so far behind. This is really important. I think Blumenkrantz just took some damage. This is big for the 3rd place prototype, and big for the 4th place prototype, because he might be able to get up there and pass Blumenkrantz as he gets sideways out of turn 11. You see the 21 anime something or other back there trying to chase him down. And Muscarella hard into the wall. They keep racing. I don't know how they're doing it, but here comes Hurley. This is a battle for 3rd and 4th in both categories.
Yeah, and you talked about it. Blumenkrantz might have got a little bit of damage. That's pretty. You can see it on your screen that the number 99 machine has some damage on it, and that's really important for a prototype car. Talked about how specific the cars are, how responsive they are, how technical they are, and how fragile they are, too. On top of that, if you make contact with the wall, you're going to have a very significant disadvantage on your opponents here on track. And we also talked about Kevin Hurley earlier in the race. He had a miscue on the first lap. He's been digging it out. He's in 4th place right now. He made it back past Noah Carmichael for 4th position, and he's now on the tail of Blumenkrantz trying to see if he can make 3rd place down Strand Drive with the sun glaring into his wind visor, his wind screen. That is, the 99 gapped it back out again, but I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Hurley could try to make more time up in maybe more technical portions of the track here.
You have to wonder, at least I wonder, and I guess this is a question maybe for the drivers more, but when you're in multi-class racing, you're flying through slower cars, and now you're in a position battle in your own class. Like, what in your mind, I guess, switches on for you to maybe not send it into the corners as you would maybe in a prototype? Oh, and Hurley, big moment. He goes around.
Big problems for Kevin Hurley. You'll see that some of the GTs coming back up onto him here. As he's trying to turn around. This could almost be cause for a yellow. I don't think we're going to get a yellow for one car, but this is almost reason enough for a full course. Hurley's still trying to get turned around. We don't have a yellow yet, and we will stay green, it looks like, but that was a dangerous situation for everyone involved, and the gap that was nil is now 26 seconds. That is massive for Hurley. All of that driving to get back up to Blumenkrantz and fight for third place out the window. It was a small little mistake, and we'll see what happens to him here. He was all over the back end. I mean, he was in the arrow wash here of Blumenkrantz, and he was ready to start fighting. He had almost made a pass a lap ago, or 2 laps ago, whichever one it was, and just some small issue here, it looks like, out of turn 13. We'll see what happens to him. Does he pop the curb? He does. Pops the curb, and it just gets the car a little sideways. Thankfully, looks like he doesn't hit anything. But, man, that is an awful angle to be parked at and try to get your car turned around, and I can see why it took him so long now. That is problematic there for Hurley for sure. Most of the field getting pretty spread out here, guys. Looks like Muscarella now down the pit lane, so he finally comes down and will take his pit stop, but he has lost a lot of time to Warren Keith, Shane Loveridge, and more. Loveridge with a very slow pit stop, so I guess that must have been fuel only for Loveridge, and Warren Keith must have taken tires. We saw Muscarella drop down off of the jacks, so he must have taken tires. So a differing strategy. It looks like these guys are really just trying to pick which pit stop to take tires on if you're in the GT category. Muscarella doing so here on his first stop, as well as Warren Keith, also getting some damage repaired, it looks like. Again, this is an endurance race. There's still a lot of racing to go, so you can afford to take some repairs now.
Absolutely. And I think that kind of thing, tires or repairs right now, is an investment. You're going to lose more time right now, but over the course of the long run, are you going to get it back? If you take 10 extra seconds to put on a set of tires and go faster by 1 second for 20 laps, obviously you can see the advantage there. Unfortunately, the drivers don't have magic 8 balls, so they're not quite sure how these sorts of investments are going to pay out in the end. But that's kind of how racing goes. That's what makes it exciting, strategically speaking, is not knowing what the right move to make is. And you can see here, Muscarella is just a great example of these drivers doing different things to see how they can get up back to the front and try to compete for the lead. Matt Dyer in the pits now, so we're going to wait and see if he goes up on the jacks. It looks like he probably is going to only take gas for this stop, and maybe at his second pit stop for this race, he will relinquish those older tires and get some fresh ones to run out the end of the race. But yeah, you talk about investing in tires, the time that it
Joe,
takes
I'm going to stop you
those
really
on.
quick. It looks like we've lost our GT leader, Jordan Malcolm. Looks like his connection may have finally kicked the bucket. Emerson, what do you have on that?
I was just about to say, Malcolm, I was not sure. I was watching Corey Hart's, and all of a sudden his number switched from 2 to 1 in class, and now Corey Hart's has about a minute advantage over Travis Stevens, or more so. Corey Hart's kind of in the land of his own and is just, I guess, smooth sailing, just try to keep the mistakes to a minimum. But that really hurts for Jordan Malcolm. He had a fast car.
Yeah, that's big for our GT3 leader. Again, we have these 2 classes on hand. Usually we would also have GT2 here in the USRA, but they are having pretty much their own week off. Noah Carmichael, one of the usual GT2 drivers. I believe we might have another 1 or 2 GT2 drivers in the GT3 field this evening. The GT2 drivers can take a week off. They don't have to come out to Detroit Belle Isle as well. That is very yellow there in the sunset. Interesting colors here, reflecting off of the water. But yeah, the GT2 drivers, they get a week off. It's just LMP2 and GT3. You see that denotation up on the top of your ticker. So LMP2 is blue, GT3 is yellow, and if we had GT2s on hand, they would be shown as green names. currently, well, we actually get our first pit stop out of the prototypes. That is at least looking relatively scheduled. I say that, but actually, this 99 is pretty beat up. Blumenkrantz coming down the pit lane. I wonder if this is scheduled or not. I'd imagine it is, but we could be mistaken there. Alex Witt is your current overall leader. Corey Hartz now leads in the in the GT category, and we will be racing into the night. As you can see, the sun is setting here at Detroit Belle Isle. So if you're just joining us, thank you for doing so. Let's quickly look at the weather that these drivers had to contend with. 64 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a bit cold. I believe iRacing only goes down to 65 when you start the session, so it's a bit chilly for sure. 65 degrees track temp as the sun goes down. Not really seeing much sunlight on the pavement at this point, just some residual reflections and a very eerie yellow-green color as well. Fitting for Halloween, possibly?
I would think so. I think that this time of the night is very ominous to these drivers with how the track conditions are going to change when the sun goes down. I think it's a little spooky for these guys too, because they don't know what they're about to expect. You know, you get into a rhythm, you run the same line for a couple laps, and you expect certain things as you go through the track. Obviously, one of those things you can't quite control is lap traffic. As you see your race leader coming down the pit lane now, we'll see if maybe he makes any adjustments fitting to the ominous new state of the track that we're going to get as the sun falls down.
So we are about 7 minutes away from halfway in this race. So you have to think, what kind of a stop you're going to make here? What position are you going to be in with give or take 8 or 7 minutes left in the race? I have to assume if you're going to take tires, it's now, and you just take fuel only at those. It's 8 or 7 minutes to go, and Justin Irby looks really off the pace. Not entirely sure what's going on. He's traveling at 50 miles per hour throughout the...
I wonder if he's run out of fuel. He's clutching it sounds like, to try and get around this racetrack. I thought these guys would be good to 45 minutes in the prototypes, but it seems like he may have run out of fuel here in this section of the racetrack. There's GT leader Corey Hartz, the Proximity Racing Mercedes. We'll see some more. In fact, we'll see that GT battle we were looking at a moment ago come on by. That would... Oh, this Audi is going to pull over. He's going to push. He's going to push Justin Irby, it looks like, and try and make sure he makes it back around. Who is this? This is Warren Keith. What do you know? Warren Keith going to give a shove here and try and make sure Justin Irby stays in this race, trying to help out one of the prototypes. This is interesting. This is not something I ever thought I would have seen here in a multi-class event. Different classes working together. A GT3 Audi pushing an LMP2 car to make sure he can get to the pit lane. So yeah, I think definitely a fuel issue here for Irby. But I wonder, again, I wonder if these prototypes only have to make the one stop. We know the GTs have to make two, but the prototypes may be good to the end from here.
Yeah, we're not quite sure. We'll have to see how that plays out. But that was something else to see that with Warren Keith, and that's a lot of respect to Warren for doing that, giving up his own time.
Yeah, he was in a battle with Shane Loveridge
to do that. And yeah, you're right. He was in a battle of his own, and you see he came into the pits too. He just did a pass through just to make sure that he could get Irby into his pits. But I'll tell you, Irby was the only one that was hanging on the same lap as Alex Witt in the prototype category. So in terms of the prototype race itself, I think that shakes it up and sets it in stone a little bit better for Alex Witt, because obviously, Irby being in second place was the main competitor coming on for Alex Witt in this race. So to see that happen and to have Irby go so far back, losing all that time running out of fuel, is a major step forward for the 94 team to try to continue leading this race forward and get to the finish first.
Give it up for good guy league owner Warren Keefe, driver number 47, for that push into the pit lane. But yeah, that did put Irby now fourth position in class. The only class driver behind him is Noah Carmichael, who's a couple of laps behind him. And yeah, it is pretty much set in stone for Alex Witt. He just got to keep the car on track, which is easier said than done. This is a tough circuit, but he has a lap advantage at least over Eric Blumenkrantz. And I mean, I think that makes strategy so much easier for Alex Witt. That just makes, not having to push the car. All Alex Witt really has to do is keep the car in between the lines and watch his way through traffic.
very cut and dry at this point here for race leader Alex. But we're watching a battle second and third here in the GT3 category. Very interested that Caleb Smith has not pitted just yet. We should be expecting him down the pit lane soon. He tries to go to the left side here of Travis Stevens. Couldn't do anything there. Wow, these guys are starting to race pretty hard as we enter a very interesting, again, a very eerie time of day here at Detroit Belle Isle. We were talking about Candy a little while ago. We'll go back to that here for a moment. There you see Justin Irby in the background. He's back onto the racetrack and chasing down Kevin Hurley, who went by the previous lap. But I was going to say, I'm going to have an unpopular opinion for sure, because I'm actually not all that hot on Candy in general. It's actually not nearly, it's not my favorite thing to eat. You know, I'll eat a candy bar every once in a while. I think certainly Reese's, Snickers are some of the top options, but I'm not too into it, honestly.
It's a acquired thing. A lot of people aren't really down for it, and obviously it's not healthy to eat multitudes of candies and sweets themselves. But everybody's got their favorites. I'm a big Kit Kat guy. I love me a good Kit Kat. I love me a good Payday. I love some Skittles. You know, it's just, there's a lot of different things out there. Certainly a lot of different types of candies and whatnot, but obviously it's not for everybody though. But as well, we should also try to include our audience in this as well. So anybody out there watching, we would be very happy to include you in the conversation if you have any opinion or such that you'd like to share with us, and we can bring into this conversation as well, because we've got one guy who's basically bowed out of our candy battle here, and got a couple different brands on the table to choose from.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if you got to think, this league of drivers chose Reese's Cups. Now, I know they had limited options, and they didn't have, you know, maybe the lesser known brands of candy as their options when they picked the track. But as a consensus, it looks like Reese's Cups were the, I guess, favorite of the majority in this league. So that'd be interesting to see what kind of outcome we can get from the viewers of tonight's broadcast. As I said, I'm a huge Snickers fan, and I think an underrated candy that doesn't get talked a lot about is not underrated. It is huge, but we just haven't mentioned it yet on broadcast. Twix are huge, and I like, you know, them branding themselves with the left and right Twix, even though they're the same thing. They make, you know, the funny advertisements out of them. But yeah, we just had yet to mention those, and there's so many good ones. I mean, the candy industry, I mean, they're always, you know, thriving, but especially this time of year, I mean, they're going by the by the bag per at least the person, but they're going by the crate.
You know what candy bar I like that a lot of people don't? Toblerone and Heath, actually, both. They're both pretty solid choices. They're kind of out there. I don't think most people are really into either one, but Toblerone and Heath bars both are pretty solid. I want to mention we are literally now at halfway in this race. 45 minutes down, 45 to go, and Caleb Smith has just now visited the pit lane. Guys, we thought we were going to see 2 pit stops out of each GT3 car. Maybe not the case. Corey Hart's also just now coming down the pit lane. So both of these two guys have stretched it out to halfway. Worth noting as well that Travis Stevens made it 1 lap shy of these two. And we see another GT car down the pit lane. That was Matt Dyer behind them. He was backing up in the pit lane. Shane Loveridge on the racetrack, although he did pit some 12 laps ago. So very interesting here out of the GT battle. Again, you know, we were talking to Warren Keith before, and we've not covered any of these races yet. So we're still getting into the groove of things. And what we were told is that we would see 2 GT3 pit stops. Am I wrong?
No, that's what they said in the drivers' meeting. That's what they expected, at least at the beginning of the race. Is the officials were expecting a 2 stops race for the GT3 cars, but obviously we've made it to halfway. Corey Hartz and Caleb Smith have made it to the halfway point without running out of gas, which obviously proves it is possible to go the entire way on just 1 stop. I don't know if maybe there's a rule in place that they have to stop twice. Maybe that could be a factor, and then that would also show some really interesting strategy play by the 2 guys that we just talked about, Hartz and Smith, waiting until the halfway point to come into the pits to top off on fuel, maybe get tires, that sort of thing. Are you going to run the whole race and save a new set of tires for the ending of the event? But by what they said earlier, we were expecting 2 stops. So it's interesting to see if that's strategy or if maybe they actually can make it just with 1 stop and that be okay by rules.
Yeah, if it's okay by rules, I mean, especially a driver like Hartz. I'm so sorry. Corey Hartz, he has a big enough advantage where I can't remember GT3 cars have a fuel mix option. I know the GTE cars do, and those kind of parts, you're able to save a little bit of fuel by adjusting the fuel mix. But if these GT3 cars do, that is definitely an option. Drop the fuel mix a couple more. Now you're saving fuel, and you have a large margin. I mean, he has upwards of 50 seconds, I believe, to Shane Loveridge.
He's currently got Warren Heath breathing down his neck. Warren Heath wants to get back onto the lead lap in the GT category, and I don't think it's going to happen. Corey Hartz just looks too good in that Mercedes right now. We do have Matt Dyer still on the pit lane. I noticed Alexander Muscarella also has not re-entered the racing surface. Jordan Malcolm never did rejoin the race, so we're down to just 7 GT cars, and one of them's in the pit lane, so we'll say 6 GT cars on the racetrack. We still have all 5 prototypes, so we're down to 11 total. As wow, we are getting very close to darkness here, guys. I think we're going to be proper dark before this race is over. Want to mention, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we've gone quite a while. We haven't mentioned our great partners yet here at PitStop TV, so we'll do that now. Of course, we want to start off with Tucson Sound Art. Your picture, your music. You provide the image you want, and they will custom create a beautiful framed, high-quality canvas with a built-in Bluetooth speaker. With Sound Art, you get the best of both worlds. Visit TucsonSoundArt.com for additional information. And this is a quality product. I always say this is one that I never thought I would need, never thought about. It was a concept that was very foreign to me until these guys decided they wanted to partner up with PitStop TV. It's been a great partnership as well. I've got one on my wall now, and it is probably the coolest thing that I own. I've said that many a time on broadcast now, and I mean it. And you can follow these guys on Instagram as well by searching up Tucson Sound Art. They're working on their campaign over on Instagram. You can even see a picture of my exact Tucson Sound Art device. It is very, very cool. You can use code PitStopTV at checkout for 10% off of your order as well. It is properly one of the coolest products that I've ever received. It is very, very cool. It's basically just taking, again, any picture, wrapping it around a canvas, wrapping around a box, and that box happens to have a Bluetooth speaker in it. Very easy to mount on your wall as well. Really, really cool stuff. Want to also mention that Permanent Makeup in Maine is a great partner of ours as well. And when it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. At Permanent Makeup in Cryo in Maine, the owner, Ashley Boyer, is a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized services. If you're looking for the best solutions for your permanent makeup concerns, give them a call today at 207-358-8683 to book a consultation. You can also go to permanentmakeupinmaine.com or visit them on Facebook at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. They even do monthly giveaways. Make sure to get in on that action as well. As always, also need to shout out Whiplash Media, our new parent organization. We keep saying new each time, but really just our parent organization that specializes in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing, camera packs, and more. I mentioned the paint schemes. We're not even showing one of ours, so we'll go over to Noah Carmichael's number 41 machine. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing, offering services like photography, social media management, and public relations. Go to whiplash-media.com, and one of our great pioneers over at whiplash-media.com has been Noah Carmichael, working on getting our Pit Stop Insider program back up and running. He's been doing a lot of great work over there. Definitely should check it out at whiplash-media.com. And he's written some articles over there. He's got some really cool content that's gone out, and can't wait to add to more and more. Maybe he'll even write an article about this race. Who knows? Maybe even Trey Shuttlesworth. You know what, Trey, if you're still, obviously you're still hanging around. You're our social media guy this evening. How are you doing? It's been 45, now 50 minutes of racing. How are you doing over there?
Very simply, I'm liking the fact that we started the race later in the day. We've had golden hour for like an hour now, and it's just been absolutely great for getting a lot of screenshots here.
And of course, that is basically Trey's job. He just takes screenshots while we're out here broadcasting, and that's actually how we get our social media coverage over on Facebook and Twitter. You can check that out, of course, at our Facebook and Twitter pages. On Facebook, it's www.facebook.com/PitStop TV. If you want to head over to Twitter, rather, it is at PitStop TV _. You see Shane Loveridge on the pit lane. Looks like he's finally coming in for his second round of service. Well, actually, no, it says this is the first time he's pitted. If so, that is incredible that he's not pitted until just now. Shane Loveridge. That's a lot of fuel saving.
Yeah, I don't think
Whoa,
that's
Harsing
accurate.
around.
Oh, that's Matt Dyer backwards there, is it? Oh, so that is not Matt Dyer. That is my mistake. That's Spencer Hardison, who's been digging it out throughout the course of the day. He's been having a lesser day and trying to get up from the rear of the field. But he's coming into turn 3 right here. It looked like, I don't know, he just did not get the brakes on in time. Maybe there's something wrong with that number 6 Mercedes. You can see some damage on the car as we're riding on board with it. So interesting what happened here.
He just missed his braking zone.
Yeah, he just absolutely did not get the brakes on at the right time and slid out. Unfortunately, there's some runoff there, so he doesn't just pile drive a barrier, but a setback he did not need.
Yeah, you have to think. This track is such a mentally taxing track. It's very easy to, maybe just not be mentally up to par, I guess, at some points in the lap, and that can happen. It's also just a tough track, and maybe you're trying to close in on a gap that you can at least see maybe on your relative, and maybe that's what he was trying to do. Maybe if I can break a little bit deeper, I can gain a little bit more time here, and it did not work out to plan, at least for Hardison, but that's part of it. Turn 3 is a tough 90-degree corner, and I mean it's a great circuit design with the access road there. So he didn't eat some tires down there.
Yeah, I guess you could call that one a treat. A trick. That would certainly not be a treat, rather. This is Alex Witt's on board. He's coming up on Warren Keith and GT. Oh, there goes Warren Keith right out of the way, as well as GT leader Corey Hards for Proximity Racing. And this could be interesting as the two leaders try and navigate one another. I think Corey should be easy to get on by, and hopefully Alex plays nice. Looks like he will. He'll wait until out of turn 6 rather, and he'll launch down Strand Drive. It's interesting. I'm not used to calling out road names as features on a racetrack. Usually we're used to corners like Parabolica, Lesmo. I can't even think of anything. I'm studying up for Monza, if you can't tell, for Monday. But talking about like carousels, bus stops, and such like that. You're not thinking about street names usually, but hey, I guess that's something we'll have to get used to if we're going to do more Detroit, maybe even Long Beach races down the road. And let's also talk about how good these prototypes sound. When Alex's car went by just now, oh my gosh, it sounds great.
I do love me a good prototype, and I do love me a good street course. I don't think there's not a whole lot of opportunity to have street races for us here on iRacing. That's not quite as popular of a surface for the program to be making tracks. Hopefully in the future it will bring more to us, because I think it has been giving us some pretty exciting and interesting racing throughout the course of this event. And then you talk on top of that about these Dallara P217s, a fairly new by the last season, the ending of last season they were introduced, and they're pretty new to us, so we get to enjoy them on a relatively newer basis and appreciate them for what they are. They're really interesting. I enjoy driving this car a lot as well. I think it handles really nicely. It's something that you can play with a lot from an engineering standpoint. It gives the drivers a chance to make pretty major effect on how their car is going to drive compared to, say, stock setups that you might get for other cars in other forms of racing, from stock cars to sprint cars to GT cars and such. I think from both an engineering standpoint, from a spectator standpoint, enjoying it as it goes past you, or enjoying trying to make your car handle the way you want to, I think the P217 has been a really great add to iRacing. I would highly recommend it to anybody who has the service and doesn't have it yet.
You have to think. Everybody, well, at least spectators, love a great street course when it comes to road racing, and it's just a long process. So you have to have it coordinated. You know, when the city or when the area is generally shut down and the course is open for iRacing to go and scan it. And then if it takes more than the weekend, then you have to go back again. It's a tough and a long process, and that's why Long Beach is taking so long. They're still detailing the scenery at Long Beach for sure, but they're just still detailing Long Beach for us, and that's why it's considered a tech track on iRacing. I mean, I've had, like, I run an F1 league, and my drivers have asked, when are we going to do an F1 iRacing league? I'm like, they don't have a lot of the street courses that we all love on Formula One, and those are, not here in the United States. Those are even harder for iRacing to get to, and, have the clearance and all that. It's a tough process to get a street course made on the service. So great job to iRacing for getting Detroit Belle Isle as a beautiful and complete circuit on iRacing.
Absolutely. This place is beautiful. For many reasons, one of the best looking racetracks that we have here on the service for sure. And it just adds something special when you have all of the branding around the racetrack. It just adds that color. It just adds something. Maybe even just increases how fast things look as Caleb Smith grabs a piece of that concrete wall here on the exit of turn 11. He heads down to 12, and this is nearing Warren Keith and Corey Hart. It's Warren Keith for position. These guys racing for third and fourth, so Caleb Smith still in the podium conversation here in our GT3 category, especially if he can get up to Warren Keith a bit closer. He can certainly make this a run for Warren's money. Corey Hart's a lap ahead, though, so he is very clear of these two in terms of position, but rather close right now on the racetrack. We are nearing 30 minutes to go in this race. I want to quickly bring our point standings back up, guys, because this is our first race here with the USRA American Le Mans Series. Justin Irby, currently your points leader. It's not looking like he's going to extend that this evening, is it? Because Alex Witt, who, by the way, has no wins to his credit yet through 4 races, but has led every single lap of this one so far, has just dominated here at Detroit. He's got the entire prototype field covered by a lap, and these points is pretty spread out. But if he can keep making runs like this up there, Joe, he just might have something before the season's over. Kevin Hurley also, well, he's actually doing relatively decently given the circumstances. He's actually been in a couple of incidents so far, not necessarily to his doing, but Kevin definitely mounting a pretty nice comeback. It looks like he's got a second place pace machine. Maybe, I think if he was on an equal footing with Justin, could possibly battle for that top spot.
Yeah, but I want to just go off that point. You said Alex Witt, you see him 5th place in the standings. If you're with PitStop TV and this is your first time seeing the series, or if this was just your first introduction, you wouldn't think Alex Witt would be so far back in the points, because he is just classing these guys. But the track's very technical. Obviously, we've talked about that all evening. And it's just the type of circuit where driver skill, and maybe more so the ability of a driver to not make errors, is very much accentuated. So if you look at the point standings, you can see the running order almost kind of inverts the points standings, which I think is the type of thing is really cool that the American Le Mans Series is going to want to have moving forward, especially now that we're at the halfway point of the season when this race concludes.
Yeah, you got to see. Irby is still, gaining a point on Blumenkratz, and what's on your screen right now is pretty much, this is Corey Hart's trying to put a lap on Travis Stevens to put a lap on his entire class, and trying to match overall leader Alex Witt in terms of having their class lap. That here comes the prototype of Kevin Hurley working his way through this traffic, and Stevens, he is on it. He does not want to get lapped. It doesn't change his position to get lapped, but should we get a full course caution, he can get back into this race. And I know it's a long shot, but anything can happen in racing. Look at that shot. Look at the 21 of Hurley all over. He goes to the inside now of Travis Stevens, and he'll get clear, and you just continue to watch this battle that would put Stevens 1 lap down in class.
So Corey Hart's trying to get on by Travis Stevens here. We're now on the south side of 30 minutes to go. These guys really just very spread out for the most part, but we're going to have an interesting second, third, and fourth battle. So most of the field seems to be pretty much on their own, but this string of 4 cars, this is actually first through fourth, but first is a lap ahead as he tries to get a move there on second place. Can he get it done? Now he goes to the right side of Travis Stevens. He's going to lunge into turn 4, I dare say. Oh, but Stevens not going to let it happen this easily. This is crazy that he's racing him so hard. I'm really surprised that Corey Hartz has not been able to get by just yet. We'll go on board with Corey Hartz as he tries to get by. Out of turn 7 or 6, rather, he might get a run. Can he draft by Travis Stevens off into turn 7 and get this pass done finally? This is not for position. Oh, and actually here comes a prototype to really spice things up.
Well, yeah, and you talk about that's not for position, these 2 cars right up front here with Travis Stevens and Corey Hartz, but Warren Keith is right there behind him. So as soon as Corey Hartz gets around the lapped car Travis Stevens and puts him behind, Travis Stevens is going to have to start worrying about staying in second place as Warren Keith is right there behind him. Same with Caleb Smith. They're just in a train together. And obviously, like you said, we've got a prototype in the mix now, so that's going to shake things up, spread the GT guys out a little bit more as that prototype starts to maneuver his way through these guys. But Warren Keith is right there, and I think that's the big thing for Travis Stevens right now, trying to stay in front of Corey Hartz, is that if he falls behind the number 57 Mercedes, he's going to have that Audi all over his tail. He's going to have this prototype coming through now. So that's the number 23, Justin Irby, making a pass to once more lap the GT traffic. But I think the big thing right now, Emerson, if I was Travis Stevens, I'd be trying to keep Corey Hartz in between myself and third place.
Oh, for sure. Like I said, multiple reasons. First, of course, Yellow puts Stevens back in this race. And second, like you said, the battle for positioning class is heating up. And it is that one car of class leader Corey Hartz separating them. And you saw Justin Irby work his way through this string of GT3 cars. And what that did is you saw Kevin Hurley work his way through the string a few moments ago. And that is a battle for position prototypes for second place. Hurley and Irby, they are 13 seconds apart, 12.9 as live timing's updated, and Irby's currently closing that down. So that was huge. How long Irby spent in this, a big moment there through turn 8. We have Hartz really piling on the pressure because he knows if he can get clear of Travis Stevens and let these boys fight, he should be clear at least for a class victory to keep his car on track. But right now he's in the thick of it, and if they start to battle really hard, if something happens with Stevens, then this whole class battle is busted wide open.
They've all got to be very careful, especially because Blumenkrantz now is in the background, and he's really going to spice things up for the third time now. A third prototype passing these guys is finally Corey Hartz jives down to the inside, and he makes that pass on second place to put him a whole lap down. So Travis Stevens now has got to defend all of this for position. 3 cars in a row, and they've got a prototype breathing down their neck. Down to turn number 3 they'll go. Down Center Avenue. And wow, I'm so surprised the Blumenkrantz had the discipline to stay behind them. That is some sportsmanship there from Blumenkrantz to wait behind, realize that, yeah, sure, he could try and keep going and catching up to Justin Irby possibly, but these guys are all actively battling for second through fourth. It's better to let them battle and go by at a better time. That is amazing sportsmanship there from Blumenkrantz. I just want to mention that. A lot of prototype drivers wouldn't have the discipline to do that. Now he's pretty much boxed in as he tries to go by. Now he'll make it 3 wide between these guys. Stevens lets Warren Keith go by. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah, I think Stevens, what his main goal there was to do was to allow Blumenkrantz to get through. As you see, retaining second place there is the number 24 Mercedes, but he dragged the brakes a little bit going closer into the braking zone for the turn to let Blumenkrantz go. That's at least what I assume he was trying to do there. Oh, wow, Warren Keith wiggled out of the turn there. Stuff like that, very mature, but at the same time, I think that was, as much as it was respect for the other drivers, it might have been smarts on Blumenkrantz's end, because Eric knows if he gets into the tangling mess that is this battle right now, it could all go haywire for him too.
Yeah, Blumenkrantz is, of course, also in a strung out battle for second. As we have overall leader, we're on board of him, Alex Witt, working his way through this battle. And I also want to shout out good guy Warren Keith for that push. I believe it was, he pushed Irby to the pit lane, correct? And Warren Keith, you know, we thought he'd lose a lot of time, and of course he's still a lap behind class leader Corey Hartz, but he is duking it out for second and around the outside into turn 4. He's cleared a second, Warren Keefe is.
Well, since we're in Detroit, I guess we could say round the outside for Warren Keith. Gets second place there from Travis Stevens, and now the battle's on for third as Caleb Smith. Again, he had troubles earlier on in this one, but suddenly has a lot of speed. It seems like on these longer runs, that car just comes to him, and he could be sitting on a podium spot before this is all said and done. 23 minutes to go from Detroit.
Yeah, certainly there's plenty of time for situations to change, for things to be different, and hopefully not, but you could have accidents, you could have full-course yellows, even stuff like that. I mean, these guys got to race hard right now, but nothing is off the table yet. We still got over 22 minutes of racing to go. If you were watching this battle, though, from second to fourth place, you wouldn't think there was so much time left on the clock, because these guys have been really aggressive with each other, trying to make these moves, trying to make these passes, and make time on each other and do such. As you see, one of the two Mercedes came into the pit lane. We're going to wait and see which one.
Travis Stevens.
It was Travis Stevens right there. So he's going to relinquish his position on course to come in, get some fuel. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if he takes tires, but I wouldn't quite expect it at this point.
And he was very close to making this go on just one stop. So I wonder what this means for Corey Hartz and Caleb Smith.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It could be going back to the thing. If it is a rule to make 2 stops, I doubt it, but it is a possibility. But I mean, back to Joe's point, if you wouldn't know that there would be 21 or 22 minutes on the clock. Well, now 21 and change on the clock the way they're racing. But on the other side, there is pit stops, and who's gonna get the best pit stop? And if you have some required repairs from smacking the wall a couple times, who knows how you end up in this battle. So everything matters at all points in a race. Of course, you never want to let your guard down in racing, but this battle easily can get shaken up if most of them having to make their final pit stop in these final 21 minutes.
Speaking of required repairs, Emerson, remember how Thursday evening it was? We had a race at Alton Park. This was obviously off broadcast, off air. And I got trapped in the pit lane with required repairs. It seems like that may have been the incident or the issue here for Alexander Muscarella in the number 07. He's rejoined the racing surface now, but it seems like he may have fallen victim to the same thing where it doesn't give you that meatball flag anymore. You simply just get stuck in the pit lane with all those repairs. So the 07 was stuck there for some 24 laps thereabouts, but now back on the racetrack, and despite being 19 laps down to race leader in his category, Corey Hartz, he's at least back on the racetrack trying to make up some points, and if he can, I'm not sure how many laps we'll get here to the end, but he might be able to get up and get another spot. Matt Dyer in every position is very valuable.
Absolutely, points are crucial throughout the entirety of a season, and that kind of digging that you do pays off in the end for the season as the championship closes in. That's the type of stuff you need to do to try to progress on track and in the championship standings. And a lot of credit to the guys who do that, who have the patience and the wherewithal to keep racing. Obviously, when you have a rough day or something goes haywire, like it did for maybe Matt Dyer or Muscarella, it puts you down, and you're like, I want to quit. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go get a beer and let it fly, let it be in the past. But these guys are going to keep digging, try to get points, and that's really crucial for the whole season for these drivers.
There's still a battle going on for second in class with Warren Keefe and Caleb Smith as they work their way through Sunset Avenue. And yeah, I agree. I love the fact that drivers in these leagues, they're here and they're committed to racing the full distance if they can. Provided any outside circumstances would prevent that, they are here, and it's almost as if they have real sponsors to to represent in finishing these races. So it is very remarkable that these drivers take it as seriously as they do, even though to some people this is just a video game, and I mean, and it is in a sense, it's a sim, but they take it seriously, and I absolutely love that, and I think it makes league racing all the way better on iRacing.
You mentioned that battle for second place, Emerson. Here it is. Warren Keith. He had over a second back to Caleb Smith, but this gap has since narrowed. So it seems like right now that Mercedes is working a little bit better for third place Smith over Warren Keith's Audi. And that's interesting as well because we've seen the Mercedes, based on point standings, is so much better right now than the Audi here in the USRA. But you go over to the Northwest GT3 Challenge, and it's much, much different, where everybody's going for Audis and going for Ferraris. Granted, we don't have Ferraris available here in the USRA American Le Mans Series, but I'm still very surprised that the Mercedes is as popular as it is right now and as fast as it is right now, as Caleb Smith working to get up to second place, Warren Keith. Our podium is still entirely up for grabs here in the GT3 category.
Absolutely, and I think going off of Caleb Smith and what we had said earlier in that first run is Caleb seems to have a really great car on the long run. The car seemed to come to him, and I think that's showing with how well he's keeping up with Warren Keith right now, as you see him coming down on the approach to turn 3. Yeah, Caleb Smith's car has just been handling really well over the long run, and that's something you don't expect out of, especially, a road race or a GT car. We're looking at Kevin Hurley on the pit lane again with less than 20 minutes to go. So obviously this service hopefully is going to allow him to gun it here for the ending of this race and try to see if he can catch back up to Blumenkrantz, who passed him at some point here to be the final podium finisher in the prototype category. But back to Caleb Smith, that car just seems to be coming to him. And even with the sun going down, which you can see now as we come down Strand Drive, that we don't have the ridiculous glare of our large hydrogen-helium explosion keeping the Earth in check and in shape for us and all of our respective plants and animals that strive to, or that live off of the sunlight we get from a beautiful big ball in the sky. So now we've got no glare. That's the point of what I was saying, is that now we've got no glare.
That was a really roundabout way to get there.
It took me a while to get around it. I had to
here comes Warren Keith.
Oh, so that's a big one too. Is now Warren Keith's going to be relinquishing second to come get some service down on pit lane.
I love the way you described our life ball up there in the spaces, the sun. I love that description you made. But yeah, Warren Keith is in, and is this the potential undercut on Caleb Smith? I doubt tires are taken at this point, but you have to think, the fuel, if you pit now, maybe you have to take more fuel, and if Smith, comes in later, he's take less fuel, the car is lighter, and again, they're driving different cars, the Audi versus the Mercedes. A lot of different factors come into play here, and you have to also look at overall leader Alex Witt. Remember, he came into pit 7 minutes before halfway. When does he make his final pit stops? We have about 15 3/4 of a minute remaining in this race. And everybody else who made their pit stops late in the first half of this race, but not enough to make it a one stop. So a lot of strategy going to be played in these final 15 minutes. And how long are these drivers stopped in their stalls?
Au contraire, my good man. Caleb Smith and Corey Hart's both pitted right at the halfway mark. And, it will be close. But I don't think they would have committed to running all 45 minutes of the first half unless they thought they could do it on one stop. But, Caleb Smith gets the wall out of turn 12. But no, I think these two are committed. I think it is a proper one-stop strategy out of these two to try and go to the end a bit faster than everybody else, simply because they don't have to pit that extra time. So Warren Keith really was probably just giving up that spot. I don't think it's really going to be a battle between these two at this point. Of course, it was expected that Warren Keith still had to pit, but based on what these two did earlier on, I don't think we expect Hartz or Smith back down the pit lane this evening unless something very weird happens, which it is Halloween, and you see we are getting down into the evening. It is just about dark. We have 14 minutes to go. And, well, I say just about dark. There's actually still quite a ways to go before we are pitch black, but still relying on the lights to get around Detroit Belle Isle.
Yeah, and certainly I think we have actually reached the official weather setting of when sunset would begin or conclude, but obviously there's some residual light going on right now on the track that is keeping it somewhat lit for us. We've seen a couple of guys were riding here with Kevin Hurley, but we've seen
this is either a suspension failure, possibly a tire failure.
Yeah, this is some sort of mechanical issue for the 21 car, and we actually saw Muscarella running when we were back in turn 3. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Kevin Hurley, something very wrong with that car. Yeah, so we're going to see if we can figure out what the precursor incident was that caused his car to just lean like it has been, and what led him to get into the tire barriers there. But that's some of that attrition, that long race fatigue, Emerson, that we talked about earlier. Is can you make it through the whole race? And obviously for Kevin Hurley, it didn't quite work out.
Yeah, these drivers, they've made it through 77. Oh, he went around, and was that the cause of it? I doubt it, but I hope he doesn't get T-boned in this section. I think this exit is a blind exit for drivers coming by, and he lets overall leader by, and the car's limping from there. It's bouncing. Like that could be the track bumps. But what this does do is this moves Justin Irby back into the second position after running out of fuel. So Irby now looking primed to still finish in the same spot he was, even with the miscalculation earlier.
There it is. There's the issue for Kevin Hurley. Gets loose out of turn 8 and just ends up popping that wall. That is... I still wonder if that's suspension or if that's a tire. So you know what? Since he's still in the pit lane, what do you say we actually bring him in here? This is something we don't usually do mid-race, but we can try and bring him in. And Kevin Hurley, do you have a copy? Hey, Kevin Hurley, this is Andrew in the PitStop TV booth. Do you have a copy? And it looks like Kevin must have stepped away, which is relatively understandable, actually, considering what's just gone on for him. But I would really like to know what the official issue is there for Kevin Hurley. That's so bizarre. You don't usually see that kind of thing here in sim racing, some kind of part failure like that. Granted, there was contact to aid that part failure or tire failure, one of the two, but you still don't usually see it quite like that.
Absolutely, Andrew. That's the sort of thing that you just want to avoid at all costs. And obviously, you saw he hit the wall a pretty fair amount. He had a pretty good amount of momentum when he hit that wall. So I wouldn't be incredibly surprised if it was some sort of failure for the car based off of that contact or something. But the spin initially was kind of obscure. Maybe I'm not sure what was going on there. But yeah, like you said, a very rare thing to be seeing out on track. And another thing that's really rare to be seeing, at least in terms of some of my experiences with league races and league broadcasts, is we have pretty much transitioned from light to dark. You can see how much of a difference there is in the light that the headlights are shining on the surface from these cars is to what the ambient lighting is around them. As you see, the race leader in the GT category, Corey Hart's coming at you right now. One of the prototypes in the background got a little hot coming out of that turn. That's Blumenkrantz, who's running in third place right now. So, but yeah, back to the point of how dark it is now. And obviously, it's very much different for the drivers and how bright the track is itself. But fortunately, we got headlights, so we're gonna be fine to go, Emerson.
While we were taking a look at the incident there with Hurley, our race leader, Alex Witt, came in and out of the pit lane with a 13.5-second pit stop and still holds a 2-lap advantage in class and overall.
It looks like we may have been able to track down Kevin Hurley. So I do still want to find out what's happened here. Kevin Hurley, do you have us?
I do.
Well, this is actually right as you're going back on the racetrack, so I'll try and keep this quick here. But what was the actual failure there? It looked like you got the wall. Was it still a part failure, obviously by contact?
Well, I was on fresh tires, and I think I got in the gas a little too soon, and I hit the inside wall off the exit of the corner, and my tire went through its fender, and I couldn't turn, so I had to tow.
Yeah, we saw how the car was listing there, almost like it was a weird tire failure. iRacing is pretty iffy with some of that stuff, but hey, man, it was a great race up until that point. How are you looking for the rest of the season? You still got 5 races to go.
I'm going to try to go for 3rd or 4th because the top 2 drivers are just really good in this class. So, yeah. I consider this the most difficult track of the season, so it can only get better. There's that.
Hey, fair enough. Do you think you'll be in one of those GT cars next week at the Roval?
I don't think so. The one I have isn't available for the race, so.
I gotcha. Well, Kevin, get back out there, see what you can recover here. It was a great race watching you do what you could out there for a little while.
Yep. Yeah, it was fun. And then I dumped the car.
Hey, man, like you said, up from here, you still got 5 races to go or something
Yep.
or there. I think it's 4 races. Either way, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
That's Kevin Hurley, now dead last in the prototype class. Interesting that we're talking to him while he's on the racetrack. Appreciate that he was kind enough to do so right there. Kind of rare. Some of those drivers just want to be left alone, obviously. We do have an interesting battle starting to shape up. Shane Leverage. Oh, actually, it's because that battle was for position. It was showing that there was a small gap from Shane Leverage up to the next car ahead. It was actually because it was showing the gap to Kevin Hurley. So that pass was for overall position between Kevin Hurley and Shane Leverage. See the overall leader, Alex Witt, go on by. We're now within 8 minutes to go.
Yeah, and I want to talk on behalf of Kevin Hurley because I was very impressed by his optimism for what's going on. I mean, obviously he could be very frustrated that he made a mistake that cost him so much time and the position he was in, and then had to reset the car and come into the pits and all that. But like he said, he said this is the most challenging race on the circuit. He's acclaimed that the top 2 drivers are just out there on their own, and he's just shooting to do 3rd place. And I love the respect that he has for those guys in front of him to say these guys are better than I am. Which hopefully Kevin can prove himself wrong and get up there and show some good performances. But the optimism that he showed in that interview that we got with him, and the pleasure of having him here with us while he's back out on the racing surface, and his cool nature was something that I think a race car driver definitely needs, is that motivation and the composure to keep a cool head in situations like that. Because you can let your emotions get the best of you, and something can all go haywire. And so Kevin Hurley just very impressive with that interview right there, and his outlook on the rest of this season.
Well, you heard it from the driver first. Kevin Hurley said this is probably one of the toughest tracks on the schedule, or the toughest track on the schedule, at least his personal opinion. And I would agree. It's a very tight technical track. There's no runoff. The walls are all around you. It is bumpy. It is tough on equipment. And guess what? We are now in nighttime as well, or just about. It is looking pretty dark out there. These drivers relying on the headlights, as Andrew said a few moments ago. It is getting fun for some of these drivers.
It definitely is. I mean, this is crunch time for these drivers, and it is struggle time. I mean, they're all on the struggle bus right now trying to get around this place. You just start losing your brake markers. I think the biggest thing is something that I noticed at Le Mans in our private running thereof, the iRacing 24 Hours of Le Mans. Of course, when you jump in the car randomly at night, you have no clue what's going on. You don't have your usual markers that you practice with during the day. Even if you get some practice in at night, it takes you a while to find them. At least these guys had the transition to the nighttime, because otherwise, again, you get in the car here, you might not know what's going on. You start relying on shadows during the daytime as well. And obviously, all the shadows are different. They're still the same physical markers, but all the shadows are different when the sun isn't up. So these guys are doing a great job of obviously adjusting with the time of day. It's a little bit easier, I feel like, when you slowly, gradually go to nighttime, but still, once you get to this point, man, it starts to all look the same. And even if you've been in the car for an hour and a half like these guys have been, you start to lose track of where you are sometimes. And if you need to hit the brakes, so you've really got to rely extra hard on the walls around you. Thankfully, those brake markers are a little bit closer at a street course, but that makes it that much easier to mess up and really do damage.
I agree, Andrew, and I was just about to, I thought of it just as you started talking there, that I was going to mention the transition from light to dark is significantly more helpful for these guys, because they get the lap by lap slow progression. As you see Warren Keith running down the inside of Muscarella there, they get a slow Shane Leverage, sorry, so that was that's my mistake seeing the car on track, but that's the type of thing that I think is a saving grace when you compare it to, say, running the 12 hours of Sebring, the 24 hours of Daytona. If you jump in the car in the middle of the night, all that, you're surrounded by darkness, and all of the things that you use as pointers when you're racing in the daytime are just gone, and you have to adjust to that really quickly. But fortunately for these guys, they had the opportunity to run into the night and slowly progress themselves, adjust their eyes, adjust their mental state to running in the nighttime.
A bad day gone worse for Kevin Hurley. He has come to a complete stop on track. He's in turn 3, and he almost ran into the back of Alex Witt. He safely found the access road instead of the back bumper of our overall leader. Or, well, not really a bumper. The back end of our overall leader. And, yeah. It's just a tough braking zone. We were just talking about it gets tough at night to see your braking marks.
You know what? He's been out of the car for a while as well, and he just got back in a couple of laps ago, so he's still adjusting to this darkness because everything's a little bit different. So he is one case, actually, where he's getting in while it's gotten dark. So this is different for him as compared to everybody else. It's definitely a weird transition to make. If you've been out of the car for a little while or even getting in the car for the first time in the dark, it is tough.
Yeah, I'd say so. And again, just the walls all
Absolutely,
around.
Andrew, and that shows obviously.
Looks like we had a bit of a connection issue there from Mr. Joe Donahue. This is a battle on the racetrack here, Emerson. This is, I lost track there. Shane Loveridge trying to get back up to Warren Keith. He saw the pass a few laps ago. This could reverse things. This is for third.
Yeah. Yeah, Caleb Smith. I'm sorry, Shane Loveridge and Warren Keefe. This battle is now down to 0.7 of a second. They're not negotiating, being passed by prototypes. Of course, that's Justin Irby on his own in second position in that class with 2 minutes left, and not entirely sure when that final lap is. And here's Warren Keefe letting the 23 Justin Irby into the barrier. Oh no, right in front of this battle for second as well. Big moment. Here's a replay.
Yeah, we'll see what happens to Justin Irby. This is critical. He's your points leader. He comes in with a couple of wins to his name. This is the battle down off into turn 3. And he's mixed in with those couple of GT cars. Just, man. Oh, sorry. I guess it's the next corner up. I even lost track. So what does happen to him? Oh, wow. He just misgauges the corner in general. I'm not sure if he thought he would slow down enough or what, but just drives straight into the tire barrier.
Yeah, it did appear like that. Maybe he was a little thrown off when he was being let by Warren Keefe, and they want to give him room and a plethora of things, along with nighttime and having to rely on these lights. It's so many different things. Could have been distracted by Warren Keefe's lights as well. Just so many different reasons why that can happen, and it's just an honest mistake, but he still holds on to second. He only lost about 5 seconds from that, and he's got about a 24-second advantage, so we'll see if he can hold on to it.
We got a crazy battle on the racetrack right now. This is third and fourth in our GT category, and they've got that prototype of Irby catching right back up to him. I think he's going to sit by the wayside. No, he's going to try and pass him here into 3. Oh, and he has another problem. Justin Irby off and turn. Oh, almost contact. He rejoins right in front of Noah Carmichael. Noah is none too happy, gives him the flashers. These guys will keep battling for third and fourth. Loveridge has worked his way back in front of Warren Keith. This is now the final lap in the USRA American Le Mans Series at Detroit Belle Isle. These guys are battling for the bottom step of the podium. Meanwhile, up ahead, it's Alex Witt trying to close this one out. In fact, he has just taken the white flag, so we can actually tell you these guys will have to go an extra lap as Loveridge all over the curbs in 7. This is technically 2 to go. They're still coming to the white flag.
And I'll tell you, they're side by side right now through 8 and 9, but that's not the type of part of the track that you want to be side by side in. And yes, I have returned. My Wi-Fi pooped out, but we have returned gracefully to this beautiful battle that we get for this last lap of the race. I was really surprised to see Irby sliding out of the way like he did. I would have thought, and you see Noah Carmichael here, these guys are being really respectful of the fact that this is a race for position as opposed to where they're at. On
Whoa, no, Loveridge!
Oh!
Carmichael with an amazing save.
Wow, so that's not good at all for Loveridge, though. He was all over the back of Warren Keith in the 47, and those two Audis were battling so well. But obviously, Shane just got it loose out of that corner and just couldn't stop it.
And we have driver 94 coming through turn 14. Alex Witt will win at Detroit Belle Isle overall and in class. It has been a sloppy battle for second. Irby and Blumenkrantz both had mistakes at the same time as Irby went off in turn 3. Blumenkrantz went around on Sunset Avenue. And here comes GT3 leader Corey Hartz. He works his way through, this would be turn 12, correct? So he works his way down Sunset Avenue, blinking the flashers. He knows he's done it. He has a huge advantage over Kevin Hurley and Caleb Smith, and Corey Hartz will win in GT3.
So we got our couple of winners in each category. Caleb Smith will be second place here momentarily. Warren Keith has definitely put a gap on... Oh no! Warren Keith pops the wall there in turn 8 as soon as we go up to him. I guess that's not the first time we've jinxed somebody, but Shane Lover's still a ways back. Can he somehow get up there? We're on board with Leverage. This will be to get on the bottom step of the GT3 podium. It's going to take a lot, but Warren Keith is slow ahead. He has a problem. He's got some kind of damage. This podium battle is not over yet. Shane Leverage now goes right on by Warren Keith, and Shane Leverage will step onto the bottom step of the podium here. He will take bronze at Detroit. Problems for Warren Keith. Is he going to give it back? Is Shane going to... I think Shane's going to give it back. I'm not totally certain. Shane crosses. He must have had to slow down or something. And Warren Keith will come across. He's not getting help. Has he run out of fuel possibly? I think that's what it is at this point. It seems that might have been why he hit the wall, actually, in that turn 8, turn 9 complex. He might have been just trying to coast as fast as he possibly could and ended up nailing that outside wall and slowing himself down even more. But Warren Keith, that is heartbreaking there for Warren. He was so close to that podium, a half a lap short on fuel. He just about had it. You see Travis Stevens cross the line behind him, and Warren just has nothing for it. But Alex Witt will burn it down at Detroit.
Yeah, and that's a really tough break for Warren, but you see him giving a celebratory little bump to the number 94 of Alex Witt. Very happy to see that for what that's worth, and the sportsmanship between the two of them, to give him credit for that. But yeah, that's the kind of miscue, and that's the kind of thing that when you make a mistake like that, running just barely short on fuel, that hurts for a little while, and I'm sure Warren Keith is feeling that. But Alex Witt feeling the exact opposite of an emotion, as you see him having some fun out here right now in the dark in Detroit, doing some burnouts and just enjoying the fact that he just dominated this race.
I think he just hit the same spot that one safety car and IndyCar hit as it came off the pit lane. That exact same wall there off of turn 2. But what a performance from Alex Witt, and what a finish. We had drivers all over the place. That was not the racing line. There was cars spun out of gas, in access lanes, everywhere but the racing line. Except Alex Witt, he was. But it was absolutely insane. The battle for second in prototype and overall, the battle for third in GT3, they were all ablaze.
And how about racing at a place like Detroit at night? I mean, this is almost full dark for these drivers in terms of their references on the racetrack. This is just about as dark as it gets. I'm impressed that they held it together as well as they did, honestly. And Alex Witt, he's going for an extra lap. He wants to make it 100 minutes total, but yeah, an hour 40 minutes. Alex Witt just keeps going. But we will step aside, of course, as we usually do, and we will take our little post-race break. We'll be right back to you here momentarily with the post-race coverage here of the USRA American Le Mans Series at Detroit Belle Isle. What a dandy it was. We were certainly treated this evening. A few drivers were tricked, but it all worked out in the end. We'll be right back to you with post-race coverage.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Welcome back to PitStop TV. We rejoin you on the far side of our post-race break. Of course, it has not gotten lighter at Detroit. We've just gone back a little bit. Man, it's so cool that we got to see one of these races go from day to night at Detroit Belle Isle. That's something you don't usually see. Being able to watch this day to night transition at a place like Detroit, definitely fascinating. I think they've done that at most places. I think they did it last week at Road America as well. So really, really cool to see these cars use their headlights and have to navigate a very tricky street course here in the state of Michigan. We're going to move right on. We're going to move right into each of our top two drivers from each class, and we're going to kick things off, of course, with Alex Witt, our overall race winner. Alex, you led just about everything there was to lead, and you don't have a win coming into Detroit. What was that like, trying to get your first win on the season?
It's a little nerve-wracking there at the end, but I'm glad I got it done. VIR was a tough one, having the engine go, so it was just nice to be able to run the full race and run it to the end and get the win.
Yeah, of course, this is our first time here at PitStop TV, joining you guys in the USRA American Le Mans Series. How's your season gone so far?
It's been pretty good outside of that first VIR race that I was in with the engine failure. Road America was pretty good, ran a pretty clean race. But this one was definitely better than that, getting the win.
So there's still a whole lot of racing to go. We were talking to Kevin Hurley a little while ago, and these prototypes are very interesting to get a handle on, but I believe you guys got 4 races to go. Watkins Glen, Indianapolis, Laguna Seca, Road Atlanta. How do you, as one of these prototype drivers, possibly maybe even a favorite now to make a comeback season out of this thing, how do you feel about the races ahead?
Liking going to Indy, that's a new one, but I think that'll be a good one. None of the other ones I have too much experience on other than maybe Watkins Glen, so it's just going to be about getting the practice in through the week and being consistent. That's what I'm going for.
And Alex, before we let you go, of course, who do you have to shout out? Who do you have to thank this evening for your dominating win? You led 66 of 66 laps here at Detroit Belle Isle.
Well, got to get a shout out to Mom and Dad. I think they're watching, so thanks for watching. It's a good race.
We appreciate your time, Alex. Congratulations on an amazing win this evening at Detroit. I'm sure we'll be talking to you at some point later on in the season.
Thank you.
That's Alex Witt winning overall and in the prototype category. An amazing, amazing run from him this evening. Joe Donahue, let's go ahead and let's bring in Justin Irby, our second place finisher in the prototype category.
Yes, sir, the championship leader in the prototype category. Justin, we got you here. I'm Joe Donahue with PitStop TV. Do you hear me loud and clear?
I got you loud and clear.
Yes, sir. Well, today was an ebb and flow 90 minutes of racing, and it seemed like outside of obviously Alex Witt, who was very strong today, it was an ebb and flow and a back and forth throughout the course of the race. Talk about how you dug out this 90-minute race to get to the end, because we had some missed quarrels, and things just kept happening throughout the course of the race.
Yeah, no, for me, it wasn't just digging, it was picking at it slowly. This track is brutal for the prototypes. Every bump, everything just affects the car in a different way. It seemed like everyone was having a little bit of issues. I mean, I felt fine. I know I messed up a few times, and I thought I was throwing my race away, but I mean, I'm happy to walk away with the second place tonight.
Absolutely, and you mentioned mistakes, and we want to just get an expansion on the big one of the broadcast was you ran out of fuel.
Yeah, the problem with that is I completely misjudged on where my pit stall was coming in on my in lap, so I ran through pit road, and I'm just taking it easy throughout the whole lap, and coming up to I'm gonna call it the fountain complex because that's the only thing I can think of. I ran out and I was just coasting, and then on that little short shoot coming up to the last turns, the saving grace of the night was Warren. He came up and pushed me into the pits, and I was able to get fuel and whatnot and keep going.
Yeah, we saw that, and we commented on the broadcast how cool and respectful that was to you from him, and then as drivers with each other. Throughout the course of the race, we talked about fatigue, and I wanted to get your intake on the fatigue factor of the race for the driver or for the car. How did 90 minutes feel?
It feels like I just did a 4-hour race, to be honest. It's fighting every lap after lap. You're fighting the car, doing something different. The tires fall off at some point. The fuel going down, it just makes the car that much more unpredictable from lap to lap. The car and the track just beat the ever-living crap out of me tonight. I just want to go lay down and nap, to be honest.
Well, I respect that. And Justin, obviously, you're the championship leader, and you only came up in second place, which second place is still very good. Didn't lose too much time on any of your competitors, except for obviously Alex Witt. But going forward, you got a couple races left. Does this change your outlook for the championship at all?
It doesn't really change anything. I know Alex and then the other competitor that's really fast in here, Dan Neese. I know that they got the pace on me. I'm just looking to have a consistent rest of the season, try to maintain at least some sort of gap in the point standings, go on into the season just hoping I finish each race clean.
Absolutely, Justin. And we're going to let you off the leash here, but before we do, we'll give you the stage and the mic. Anything you got to say, anybody you want to thank here on the broadcast for your night or your season?
Well, overall, I just want to thank the car for putting up with me for the whole race again. And just, I just want to thank my dad again. He's been giving me all the inspiration in the world. He keeps pushing me to do everything I need to do to keep going on everything I do. I just want to thank him with all my heart.
Awesome stuff, Justin. Thoroughly appreciate it. Congratulations on second place tonight.
Thank you very much.
Good luck to you for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Sir. So that concludes it. And yep, Justin's absolutely right, and I agree 100% with him on the dad thing. Personally, in my life, my dad has been the driving factor of everything I've done as well. So thoroughly appreciate and respect that. And I'll hand it back as we get to talk to the GT3 race winner next.
Right on, and we're here with Corey Hartz, our GT3 race winner, and finishing P5 overall. Corey, how does that feel?
It's pretty good. First of all, I feel bad for Justin Malcolm because that should have been his class win, but due to, I guess it's, I don't know, technological issues. Ended up getting throughput, but yeah, it's good. That's two for two for me. So
Yeah, right on. You came in today, I want to say about 87 back off the point lead and 1 win in class. A second win here on the season. Does this do anything for your championship outlook, or I guess the betterment of your season position? And how are you looking at the rest of the season? For the second half?
I mean, I'm honestly just doing this for fun. I don't care too much about points. So I'm probably not going to be doing every race. I'll just do whichever ones. I'm probably going to do the shorter races, the hour and a half ones, and yeah, I might have to look at the schedule. But I'm not caring about points. I'm kind of just doing this for fun.
Hey, well, fair enough. You came and you had fun for sure. And speaking about fun, having a little fun in the chat, I see the talk of the GT3 strategy today was a 2-stop, and well, you made it on 1. Talk to us about that, and how did you do it? How'd you say feel if you had to?
Yeah, well, I was like, I got to be a little controversial. They say that it's a 2-stopper. I got to do it in 1. But honestly, saved a little bit too much fuel. I mean, I had it in fuel map 2, and then was conserving quite a bit in that second stint, because around probably 50 to go, I really realized hey, I can make this on 1 stop. If I can get to 45, that'll be halfway. And then, so at that point, I started saving and put it on fuel mode 2, and made it to 45 to go on the first stint. And then from there, just conserved from there on out. And like I said, ended up conserving a little bit too much. I think I had a few gallons in the tank, so I could have been a little bit more. I didn't have to conserve that much, but either way, it worked out.
All right, there was a point in this race where you approached a 3-car battle for position in your class. That was a lap behind you. What was going through your mind when you're in the mix of those 3 cars duking it out so hard and then getting sliced and diced by some prototypes?
Yeah, that was sketchy for sure. Who was that? Was that Travis Stevens? That was that I was trying to get by for a little while, and because I knew the guys behind me were faster than him. So I wanted to get by him so then they could go battle it out with him. But the problem was, because I was in fuel mode 2, so I would be faster, so much faster through the corners than him, then get on the straightaway, and he'd have me on the straightaway. So eventually I put it into the regular fuel mode and got on by him, and then went about my race. So.
Fair enough. Well, a dominating performance in class, well over a lap advantage, and P5 overall. Who do you have to thank for your amazing run today at Detroit Belle Isle?
Proximity Racing, Sticker Boost, Trace Shuttlesworth Photography, Rexford Engineering, Graham Cracker, All Serve Garage Doors, and Jordan Malcolm's Internet. That's about
it. That's perfect. Congratulations on the class win, P5 overall. Great run from you. Fun to watch you. And best of luck to you, whatever races you decide to do the rest of this season.
Yep, thank you.
Right on. And that was Corey Hartz, our GT3 race winner. And I'll send it to Andrew, who's standing by with second place finisher in GT3, Caleb Smith.
And it wasn't just Corey Hartz that decided he had to go with just a 1-stop strategy, but also Caleb Smith. It was kind of a slow start for you, Caleb. You were as low as 14th overall. I believe that was around 8th or so in class. We ended up fighting onto the podium. Not just onto the podium, second place this evening in GT3. What was the overall plan as far as the strategy? Was it really just go to halfway and pit?
I pretty much just used the same strategy as I did last week at Road America. Of course, I run in the GTE category, so I'm not used to running the GT3 car. This is my second race ever in the GT3. So I went halfway, pitted, took tires, went on fuel, and then I went out of the pits, and literally second lap, I overshot turn 3, and I was stationary for a long bit. For 10 seconds, I think, kind of letting all the P2s by, and I think that's kind of what got me to the end, because had I kept going, I probably would have ran out.
So you mentioned that you're usually in the GT2 fight. With that GT2 off week, is it nice to kind of get a break and try something different?
I wasn't even supposed to run tonight. It was like last minute, like last night. I was like, my teammates are gonna run it, so I'll run it too.
And so then you guys are back in action in those GT2 cars. What car do you usually opt for in the GT2 category?
The BMW M8.
And so you guys go back to action then in your BMW next week at Charlotte. How do you feel about Charlotte? That's certainly going to be a tough one.
Not really. I love the Roval. I live like 2 minutes from the track. So the last race I ran at the Roval was Road to Pro, and I lapped the whole field. So I'm pretty confident going into it.
All right, well, shoot, we're going to have to show up and hold you to that one, Caleb. Overall, then, how do you feel about the rest of the season? There's still some interesting races ahead.
Yeah, I guess just keep getting podiums. I literally found this league like 2 weeks ago, so and both my races have been P2s. So hopefully I can get that one extra step on the podium.
Well, Caleb, best of luck to you in that. We'll see when we see it probably. I think we still have Road Atlanta on the plan, might add another. Who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out this evening for your P2 finish in the GT3 category?
I want to thank the team, CM Motorsports. We formed this team like 3 weeks ago. Me, Matt Dyer, Evan Coleman, Spencer Hardison. So we started this team, and so far we've been pretty much, I wouldn't say dominant in everything, but we've been doing better. So just want to thank them and the team.
Well, Caleb, thank you for your time. Congratulations on the P2 finish, and we'll be talking to you next time out.
All right, thank you. Thank you guys for broadcasting.
Not a problem. And that's Caleb Smith finishing second place in GT3 competition. Man, it was a bit of a tough crowd there at the beginning, but man, a few words, I suppose. We've had that before. And hey, man, these guys, they're drivers. They've just got to focus on driving forward, and he did a pretty good job of that this evening, especially saying that he's a GT2 driver, usually dipping into GT3 this week, while GT2 has that off week. Joe, go ahead and run us through our top 10 this evening through the overall results.
Right on. So we start off at the top of the list with the cream of the crop. Alex Witt led from start to finish in the prototype category, first place in the number 94 machine. 2 laps behind him in second place, Justin Irby. We talked to him. Another strong performance for him, the championship leader, coming in and going out of Detroit Belle Isle. Third place, Eric Blumenkrantz in the number 99, finished a lap behind that. And that's going to be the final podium position for prototype group. Noah Carmichael came in 4th place overall, 4th place in category. So the guy who jumped out of GTE into the prototype category itself still pulls off a fairly solid performance. Your 5th place finisher overall is your 1st place finisher in the GT3 category. 6 laps behind Alex Witt was the number 57 of Corey Hartz, who we got to talk to here for his one-stop strategy that got him to the finish in 1st place. Kevin Hurley finished 6th place overall, 5th place in category. The prototype driver number 21 had a rough ending to this race, looking to dig it out as the season progresses. We got to talk to him as well. Caleb Smith in 7th with that number 5 machine. So great race for him. It seemed like the long run paid into Caleb's favor throughout this one. And Shane Leveridge in the number 72 Audi rounds out your top 3, the top finishing Audi in tonight's race. Warren Keith in the number 47, another Audi, got 9th place, which would be 4th place overall for him, and a solid performance, a very respectable performance tonight as well. A lot of credit to him for the respect and what he did for Justin Irby earlier on when Irby ran out of fuel. And, of course, rounding him out in 10th place, 5th place in Class GT3, number 24 is Travis Stevens.
We'll find our way to 6th place in class and 11th place overall, Spencer Hardison. And of course, he had some troubles around this track, and surely don't blame him. It is a tough track, along with Alexander Muscarella, and he was up there in the battle for, I believe it was 4th in class, and troubles caught him out as well. I think, as Andrew said on broadcast, maybe got caught out by some required repairs. He'll finish 27 laps down overall. We'll have Matt Dyer, also 13th overall, 29 laps down, also finding some troubles And I guess the heartbreak of today, the number 335, Jordan Malcolm, 44 laps down. Internet issues, I think, plagued him. And he had a stranglehold on this GT3 field. But unfortunately, it's just the same as a mechanical failure sometimes. Unpredictable. But that's going to do it for our race results here.
And we'll recap everybody on the point standings coming into this evening, as this is our first race with the USRA. You see Justin Irby, he's atop the point standings coming in. He should still hold that spot, of course. He had 13 points back to Blumenkrantz and actually beats out Blumenkrantz. He will absolutely keep his points lead, even extended a little bit, which we didn't think was even going to happen at one point. Blumenkrantz was looking like he had that spot covered up. You see Alex Witt, our race winner this evening, he'll make some inroads on the gap up ahead on guys like Kevin Hurley, Eric Blumenkrantz, and Justin Irby. So we'll see how that all works out in the upcoming events. You go over to our GT3 point standings. Travis Steven comes in with the points lead. Jordan Malcolm looks like he could have cut into that gap quite a bit. He was, I think, going to win. I think that's fair to say. Ends up with severe trouble with his internet, and, unfortunately, it looks like he's going to fall. Well, he should keep second place in the standings, actually, because I didn't see Scott or Sartaj in the field. But you did see guys like Warren Keith, Corey Hartz, Alexander Muscarella, and more who are going to make big inroads on the deficits ahead, especially Corey Hartz winning this evening at Detroit Belle Isle. We also do want to, of course, thank our sponsors, our partners once more this evening. Joe Donahue, Emerson Arden, go ahead and run us through those.
So I will start off. Nope, sorry. It went, but it came back. Then thank goodness it did, because I would love to talk about this product. Tucson Sound Art. Your picture, your music. You provide the image you want, and they make a beautifully framed, high-quality canvas with a built-in Bluetooth speaker for you. With the Sound Art design, you get the best of both worlds. Their product is available at TucsonSoundArt.com, and I know Andrew talks about it every time he gets the opportunity. And I want to say as well, the idea is just so unique and so great. You don't think you need this product until you finally man up and buy one for yourself, and I'll tell you, it's worth it. Be sure to also use our promo code. Yes, we have a promo code with Tucson Sound Art. PitStop TV on their website as a promo code will get you 10% off this beautiful piece. So I'd highly recommend it. I think it's a great product. I think it's a great company. And Tucson Sound Art, go check them out and go get one for yourself.
Right on. And when it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. And at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, the owner, Ashley Bullier, is a certified micropigmentation specialist. Wow. Words, as Andrew would say, who provides professional, safe, and personalized services. If you're looking for the best solutions for your PMU concerns, give us a call today to book a consultation. You can contact them at permanentmakeupinmaine.com, or you can call or text them at 207-358-8683. Once again, 207-358-8683. If you visit their Facebook page, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, you will see that they do monthly giveaways. And if you submit your entry, who knows? You might just win.
And obviously, we want to thank Whiplash Media, PitStop TV's parent organization, specializing in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing camera packs, and much more. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing, such as photography, social media management, and public relations. Go ahead and check out the website, whiplash-media.com, to get more information on all of these wonderful products and services.
Thank you guys for that. It has certainly been, as I said earlier, a dandy this evening from Detroit Belle Isle. It was a great way to make our debut here with the USRA American Le Mans Series, but as always, every good thing must come to an end, and that will conclude our coverage tonight of the USRA American Le Mans Series. PitStop TV, thanks you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast. Tune in again Monday for both the BRP iRacing Series at Lernerville and the Northwest GT3 Challenge at Monza. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/PitStop TV, on Twitter at PitStop TV_, on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/Pit_Stop_TV, and on YouTube at www.youtube.com/C/PitStop TV1. This has been Joe Donahue and Emerson Arden. With me on the mic, Trey Shuttlesworth on social media. I am Andrew Cardinale IV, and for all of PitStop TV, thank you, and we will see you next time.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.